Hey there, guys. This video that you are currently watching is a part of my mentorship classes. So I wanted to put something up to show what my classes are all about and give it a little peek, and you can watch and see what I get up to with all my students. These ones go for quite some time. I'm trying to cut them down to 4 to 5 hours. If you guys are interested, there is some information on the screen that will be popping up, and it is at an alternative time to help try and get more people into a better time slot. So if you guys are interested, look at the details on the screen, and then also look in the link's description, and you can contact me and I will send you more information about the classes. Until next time, guys, take care. If we hate our own reflections, right, then we go through those emotions of liking our reflections. Sometimes you look in the mirror like, I look good today, and then other times I look bad. I mean, that can happen in all of a span of 10, 20 minutes, right? So then you understand it's just emotionally, you're emotionally, like hormones are running through you, and all these neurochemicals are going through you, and basically you're a slave to those things. And the more you understand that, hey, it's just my emotions are telling me one thing, and it's not necessarily true. So with your work, that's a tricky thing too. Like, how the hell do you navigate your emotions while working? It's simply a understanding that you're going to hate things, and then, well, how are other people going to criticize this stuff? And you're essentially like looking at you're like this close to it, and then when you pull back from it and you're obsessing about a detail that no one will actually care about, and then you reset your understanding, your thought patterns, and you're like, okay, let me think about the overall. Like, it's like looking at your overall design. And actually, the funny thing is that, when you compare yourself to others, that you always will fail with that type of thing. Don't ever compare yourself to others. You will depress yourself. You can actually go, well, compare yourself to yourself. And so you do the same for your work. Like, you compare yourself to the work that you're doing. So now I have a job that I'm doing at the moment, and I noticed at the start of the job, I liked the designs that I did, but they were my expressions of me. And then slowly you move on, and then the expressions of someone else's wants and needs come into it. And then you have to, weirdly, because you're doing a job for somebody, you have to emotionally detach. Otherwise you won't get through the job. Because whatever you started off with, that's you, and you being you and expressing yourself. But the more you understand that, you're not going to. So majority of the time, I tend to not like the work that I do for my clients because it's not an expression of me. I kind of like it and kind of don't. Like, I'm like the 50-50. It's like, I compromised, I'm compromising with you. I don't know, when you really get that chance to love your work for a client, that's fantastic. That's a great job. That's when you really got to score high on it. But majority of the time, you have an art director and everyone else, and you have like 3 or 4 other people going, hey, do this, we need this for gameplay stuff and all this other stuff. You're never going to get that full expression of like. It's kind of like you're never going to like it. But then in general, you're going to always have that feeling in general of not liking it. So you have all these layers upon layers. And so then you just go, well, I'm going to emotionally detach from it and just do what I need to do. And I think that's the point where you can take the obsession away from it also, because you can become obsessed for doing client work, and the client actually hasn't even asked for all these things. They're just like, and the thing is, you've trained yourself and you've gotten into a certain flow state for doing that client work. If you're constantly backtracking, like, there's always temptation to redo things and change things. Just don't do it. It won't matter. And that's how you'll save time, your stress and all that stuff, because you're always trying to, I guess for work, you're always trying to chase a high that's always going to be one little notch behind you. Always. It's always going to be one little notch. And then you have everyone else telling you how to dictate how to make things and how to do things, and just detach. That's my advice to you guys, is detach, but don't sacrifice. Don't be lazy. That's the difference. Don't when you're being lazy. It's like, I haven't done enough work on this. That's you questioning yourself. You're like, I would have done more work for myself on this. I would have done this. And so don't don't overwork things, because I think people can do that and clients work. Where is it? Where is it? Right. So then they'll be like, well, what are you doing? And you're probably pushing all your crap and your obsessive compulsive things and your emotions into the work when you really don't have to give that person such an emotional investment from you, essentially. So, yeah, I guess that's something I wanted to say to you guys, and hope everyone.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So cool to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
Because when I was
Very
working
nice.
at the studio, I think in my first film job, I was like, oh man, I'm getting emotionally attached. Like, and you have to separate that. Like,
Yeah.
I like to get my work done. I just had to forget about my BS and just do what they want, you know?
Yeah. You don't bring your crap with you into work, and then you don't bring your crap from work home. That's
True that.
yeah.
That's a challenge too.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's mentally mentally. So I in my day, if I'm doing my personal work and then move on to client work, some people like to do like a whole day for client work and then a whole day for personal work, and whatever works for you, right? So mentally switching, you have to actually switch. Your whole brain has to switch, and then you really have to be like, okay, I moved from personal work to client work, and then you'll catch yourself in different different moods and states, and then on top of it, you're a little bit tired, and then you have to find another. You have to get into like that flow state of doing things because your brain is on a different train of thought. You're always having to swap, and this is the challenge. So, because you guys all, I'm not sure if you guys all work like at another job. You go off and do something, right? So coming home and doing it is tough. It's like, but you're always going to be juggling stuff. So no matter what, you're never going to be doing just one thing. You're always going to be doing a couple of things, and so don't don't think that you're ever going to just sit and do one thing, because I think you're always going to have something else and going for yourself. Because if you just do the one thing, you probably get bored too. You need to branch out and do a bunch of different things, and it's really really tough to navigate. Just the quicker you get through your stupid negative train of thoughts from getting stuck on things, from thinking this sucks, the quicker you're going to see where you stuff up too. And you just have to accept it. Like when you were little, right? You used to walk and you just fell over. It's because you sucked at walking. So it's like, but then you don't. Everyone walks now around the place. You don't fall over. When's the last time you fell over? No one's fell over for a while. So things get trained, and you'll get better at essentially not falling over when you do work, and you will just do things, and then realize that I did pretty good there, and I didn't fall over and just stuff up. And so this is where everyone is at when you're first doing it. And look, you can get really attached. I know Marcos, he's really attached to the what is the Samus design. So he really wants to get that done, right? And he's stumbling, and he's going to get it done. I can see it. He's a determined man. But yeah, it's one of those things. Just keep on. What is it? Keep on trucking, if that's the saying. But
Yeah.
has everyone got work, or has I downloaded the folder?
Oh,
I got.
I could done special ones there the other day that have like cocoa in them.
You're making me.
Alright.
Just
I'll share some via Dropbox. That's still last file. Did you get any new file?
let me have a look. Unless you just, I've got the suit.
Wait, that's the stuff I uploaded is not there. Can you look in the
Alright.
folder? When did you download that?
This morning. Unless
Alright,
you just put it up.
yeah, like
Okay.
half an hour ago.
Alright. Yeah, I thought that might happen. I was trying to get the files before we go, because it's like, so it's a new file. You got the suit ref per and helmet 102, and then so you deleted the old files? Do I need to?
No, I didn't delete anything. There's a file called Battle Suit.
I'll show you this. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, the one at the top. That's the file I was working on this week.
Okay, it's just the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I say this week, I mean today because I'm a procrastinator.
Oh, well, I mean, we could talk about that. That's the whole point of like figuring out where you're getting stuck. So think about like, okay, why did you procrastinate? And what did you do that's not work? Because you must have done something else. You must have
partly, of course, work. So that's 8 hours out of my day.
yeah.
Then usually right now in the morning I go to the gym, then I work, and then soon after I'm done working, my girlfriend comes home, and then we usually spend the rest of the day together.
Yeah.
So I try to get some private projects in sometimes, but I'm doing too little of that at the moment. But she's moving away for university again in like a month, so part of me is like, okay, we'll just use the time we have right now, and then when she's gone, I can focus on working on my projects like every day from
Well, that's not procrastinating then. Yeah, I wouldn't even label it as procrastination. That's using the time for when you've got it. Unless you really think you are procrastinating. Is there an hour of your day?
I do that too. Like, for example, like, I don't know, I was working on another project when I knew I should be working on this for the mentorship, because like makes sense to complete stuff there. But then I don't know, sometimes I just get too excited about like sketching stuff. And like starting projects is way more fun than finishing them.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I see something, and then like, I don't know, we were watching something like a cartoon, and then I saw this this shape they used on a lot of the characters, like this lip shape, and then I just had to sculpt something with that lip shape and try that out and see how that works, and then 3D, and if I can make it work. And then I sketch something, and I abandon it. I never upload it or anything. Yeah, I mean, if you look at my ArtStation portfolio, it's like 2 projects that are just sculpts. They're not textured or anything. They're just basically like whenever I work on a longer project at home, I kind of get bored with it at some point and I abandon it. Or like what happens a lot is that I run into an obstacle, and then I don't know, I get frustrated, and then I start something else, and I tell myself I go back to it, and deep down I know that I won't, and then I don't. Like recently I read this thing with like that you should procrastinate by using 2 projects, and you always work on one. So and then when you feel the need to procrastinate on that one, you go back to the other, and then you just swap between those 2. But
I mean, try that, because the subconscious mind can solve the problem actually when you go off and you actually do something else. That's when overthinking is. You'll think yourself into a corner. So when you have a shower, you're like, I can do this. Like, how many times you've done that? Like, you solve your issues in the most. Go for a walk. I mean, even actually, because since you're at the computer, you're still in that train of thought, and you just don't know it. Because when you sit down at the computer, it's like, for me, it's hard for me to play a game on the computer because of this association of work here, right? This is the work zone. And couch and stuff is play games and chill out and do a bit of drawing over there. So you have to have your certain spots. If you try going for a walk, even 10 minutes could free up that.
Oh, really? No.
10 minutes. Do you go for walks?
No, just like I do my cardio in the gym, but that's it.
See, when you go for a walk, you kind of like just look at the sky or something and try and download nothing. Just have nothing in your mind. Or even just meditate. Like, you have nothing in your mind, really. And reset. Because I think what happens is you get a fear of what you're doing is like you actually might be you sound like you might actually be too concerned with the end result too.
Yeah,
So just finish it.
definitely,
Just finish it.
definitely.
Just,
Yeah, I know.
and it'll probably be better than you think.
Yeah, like the thing is, I know that having projects that are not up to my standards in my portfolio is better than having nothing.
Yeah.
But then when I work on something and I'm not happy with it, or like there's something, like I don't know, I was working on this one character and I made that jacket for him with like a hood, and I was planning to put like these like a fur collar on the hood, like you have with some jackets. And then I tried figuring out how to make the like I wanted to make it a real time character, because that's what I do at work. Because with that project, I was like, okay, I'll do something simple so I can just push it out and show my art station that I know how to work with the PBR workflow. And then I like ran into that problem with the feathers, not feathers, with the fur cards, and that I didn't really know how to make that look good. Yeah, and then I kind of stopped there.
Yeah. So my question to you, would that stuff even matter in a year or two? Given
What
the
do you mean?
tech. So like you want to make a portfolio for the next couple of years. This is your
Yeah.
projection, right? You don't want to make what? You don't want to make anything for now. You don't want to regurgitate the same thing you're doing now. So does that will you be using that? Will we be using that tech in the next couple of years? We'll be still using cards. Like given the exponential increase in tech and things like that with PS5 and all things like that, are we still going to be doing render cards? And that's something you got to question to yourself. And how important is it for you to do that work? Like, what do you want to focus on? Does it really matter that you can render some fur around the collar, or does it matter that you actually want to do great designs and things like that? So, I mean, you could just be like, let me just not bother with doing anything for a game engine. Do you really want to do that type of work too? Someone else could solve that problem for you. So you have to question, like, what do you want to focus on too? Like, you actually might not actually want to do that. Maybe that's why you're giving up too. Maybe it's just the same thing. So you have to question, like, your motivations. Is it more about the fact that you don't want to learn that? With me at the moment, I don't want to learn Blender because I have no real need to learn it. Deep down, there's no motivation for me to do it, so there's no excitement for me to do it. So you have to actually be excited to. So when you actually learn something new, it's going to be, you know, the 10,000 hour rule, and getting into, you can actually half that. You can actually half the 10,000 hour if you actually really intently want to learn it. So you get into a flow state more for doing it. You're excited to do it, and you'll learn it. So there was a conversation with Robert Greene. He's an author of numerous books, like really the laws of power, 48 laws of power, and all that stuff. And he said you could sit there and you could learn a certain language, but you'll never learn it properly unless you have motivation to do it. So when he went and traveled, he met a woman and he learnt it within like a month or something like that. He learnt. Do you see what the difference is? So you can exponentially increase your learning if you actually are interested. So if you guys aren't interested in the things that you actually are doing, then don't do it. Don't do it. You're just grinding against the stone, and just it will just wear you out, because you're learning stuff that you don't care about. You doing the fur, that sounds boring as crap to me. That sounds technical. That sounds like it's going to be not used in 3 or 4 years. It's not a skill that you need to learn. It's not. So you have to question, just don't bother. You could probably take the fur out and everyone's like, oh, that's cool. I never would have thought anything about the fur. Or like, how many times have you seen people just not do hair and just do a bun or something like that? And it's like, you don't bother doing certain things unless you actually want to do those things. So do you want to do fur on characters? Question it, yes or no. So that's the thing.
Not really, no.
There we go. There's your answer. This is why you didn't want. This is probably why you just went. I want to walk off and do something else. Unless if someone goes, I'll pay you $1,000 to do it, then you're like, okay. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You see how it's different? The fact is, there's no motivation there, and the thing is, in your mind, you can't actually. There's no big industry for people doing fur cards. Let's be honest. No offense to people doing hair, but come
None
on.
taken.
Yeah, like there is no big industry for just doing hair, right? It's great if you can do a character with hair and then you're winning in great textures, you're winning. Because someone's going to I need a good character because that's the overall package, right? But there is no, so you not getting this done right, you shouldn't get stuck on that thought. You shouldn't bother with it because it's going to be solved. The thing is that the thing that can't be solved is creativity. It can never be AI driven to the point that you're going to be replaced. So if you can really find a niche in doing things, that's not a niche. And look for what is niche. What will be, you have to create it. So all the things that you see that people make really cool, they found their niche. Like you always hear that, right? They found their niche. And you could say your intuition is telling you don't do stupid fur around the collar. Your gut feeling. So it's just like you could do the same character. Do you have that character, by the way?
Yeah. Not on this PC though.
If we all looked at it, what would was it? I mean, do you have like a screenshot?
I might wait. Let me look for a screenshot. I might have something.
I think why you can find that. So what's the story with this guy?
I was looking if you open the Puref file that I also uploaded. I was looking at one of the designs and I thought, all right, that would be like perfect for a bigger project and like a hard surface thing that we could go through. Of course, if you go on the right, there's that one like there's that purple character, and then the one on the left from that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one next to it, yeah, that's the one I saw. Where I was like, all right, I don't know, that's just cool as fuck.
Mm.
And since I've never done like a concept of someone else, and I'm not planning to, because talking about things we like to do, that's not something I like to do. That's not creative. That's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, I'll just like use that as inspiration. Just grab a bunch of other stuff and put that on there and try to like basically some of these are only in there because I liked something about it, and I thought like, okay, if I get stuck somewhere like solving shape or something, I can look at that for inspiration. For example, the one you're looking at right now, I didn't actually use that in the like until now. I didn't really look at that one.
Mm. I mean, they're all pretty cool. Yeah, we have very much all different expressions of how we think we do. And yeah, it's all very much what do you want to get from doing it, essentially. Like, what's the takeaway from the design? I mean, everything is really up to you at the end of the day. It's yeah. What do you want from this thing?
I don't know. I want to make something that looks cool, but also kind of unique.
Yeah.
I want to have like a distinct shape language. That's something I'm struggling with a little right now.
Mm.
Like, what do I do? If you look at that, there's that car there on the PRF file. I saw that today.
Mm.
I don't know, something about that shape language just looked so freaking elegant and cool, and I thought if I could somehow combine that shape language with like a kind of mech battle suit, whatever thing, that would look pretty fucking sick. But I'm not sure, because on one hand it looks super cool, but on the other hand it lacks a lot of detail, and that's where the look comes from. And I don't know if I can like combine that somehow, so I get to
You can combine it. you have to accept detail will not be driving your design, which is totally fine. So if we look at everyone else's thing, there's a lot of detail that drives these as a, we look at all that drives that. So like when we're talking about layers, this one doesn't really have, it does when the doors open, it's way more interesting. And when you see the interior, it's a lot more interesting. So if we never saw the interior, this would be more simplified too. This is why probably they've opened up the interior and they've put a woman in it. Take away the woman, we probably lose like 4 points if you take the woman away. That's a lot of points, right? Because this is why they put women in front of cars. It's to sexually suggest, hey, this car's sexy. Because how many times you've seen a car with a woman in front of it and you're like, oh, it's even better. It's cheating. It's cheating, right? It's cheating. So if we analyze things and we break things down, we can understand the influence that these images have on us and how we are influenced by this, right? You've come to this point. Maybe if you didn't even see the woman in here, you think, oh no, I don't want this for my work. You don't know. I'm just saying. So emotionally, you're being driven by all the little factors here. And it's tricky, right? Because you're coming in here and you're like, oh, well, I'm in ZBrush. There's no woman here, right? Like this, I mean, I don't know, I could experiment and put a woman right next to the character and see how then that would influence the design. So any little thing, like even this shader, I have 2 shaders, right? These 2. When I get stuck, I'll use this shader, or when I want to be like pretty free, I'll use this shader. There's something about the color that in my brain, it does something, right? It is somewhat of an emotional distraction from the bland gray. But with the fact, if you can get things to work in gray, they'll probably work in most colors. So when you, I don't know, when you work with clay, it's weird that you can work in a gray material, or I wouldn't say that's weird, a gray or a brownish material. But I think we tend to work in grays. It's a color that's not going to emotionally dictate too much, right? It won't. So when you sit down and you work, you can just focus on the form of the design and expressing yourself. But when I get stuck with the gray, I'm like, I'm not seeing what I want to see. I want to change it up. So even if you go through, let's say we go through a bunch of other cool materials, which I've like culled. Undo's X. This one is pretty cool. And I think we always used to see it everywhere, right? Because this is like, hey, it reminds me of clay and all the clay things that I've seen. It's quite inspirational. But it kind of wears on you. And this one's more about like old school Mudbox. Because I believe Mudbox rendered things properly, where ZBrush does not render things properly. It doesn't. Whatever you're rendering here, there's a, I'm not sure if the word disparity or a disconnection. These pixels aren't correctly representing what this geometry is if I exported it to another program. So if I worked with Mudbox, I know for a fact I'd produce something slightly more realistically organic. Maybe there's a 10 to 15% difference. It's small, but this is why Mudbox died also, because the cards didn't support it and they stopped supporting it in general. I think Mudbox will still be around if they supported it and the cards started to be able to beef up the GPU performance in it. And with this, there's an emotional connection to that. So, I mean, if you get stuck, so you could actually be like, well, if you like the pure ref here, I mean, you could actually work in a shiny shader too. So this would change the influence of how you work too, wouldn't it? Massively.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's going to hugely change it. But then on top of it, so doing certain, I mean, we could come close to it, maybe a shiny material like this. So this will dictate everything you do. Any line that you lay down, it's going to then dictate. So if we go from there to there, it breaks the whole thing straight away, right? And this is not realistically rendering. So if you do want to find a unique way of working, you can actually work like this. You can actually build your own shader too. You could actually render a sphere in another program. Go, I like this as a matte cap. I will then take it into ZBrush. So this is why I actually don't give out this, in a weird way, I don't give out my shader, because why would I want anyone to see the things that I see with my shader? I don't want people to work like me. I don't. It's not something that I want. So I keep it to myself. I'm not going to release it. So I've got a shiny one too. That's my shiny one. Because I know I've got, so if I go between that one, see the difference? I knew I needed a shiny one to then go, okay, what happens if I work on a slightly shiny material, but I want to twist the way of thinking a bit from the previous material, but keep that similar feeling there. So that's why I've got that one too. And I have this like blue one, which kind of changes the perception. I think it's based on someone else's, and I tweaked it a little bit. And so this one, only the difference with this one, it's only a good render one for some reason. It's not a good sculpt one. It's kind of like, it looks like a bit of a GI, that kind of old school global illumination effect that was really popular when global illumination first came into rendering. And so, I mean, generally I don't really use anything else. I think the worst one is this one, the ZBrush one. This one's terrible. This one should be put into jail. So you can never get anything good with this. And I don't believe you can. It might be good for like generating ideas, but coming in and refining it, it's terrible. But yeah, that's what I would suggest is, how would we, look at it with a shiny material? So this is something that I'm trying to like give you an understanding that if we don't want to add too much detail too. And I don't know what I would want you to express with this, but if you want to express that car-like qualities, you have to start thinking, okay, well those curves, they're kind of sexual, right? So I mean, this dude would have to be sexual or not, or maybe, I don't know, a voluptuous. I mean, this feels like a male character to me. So that's the question. You don't know what you want from it, but you just want that type of curvature. So then what happens is it becomes like a vintage, like a vintage robot type of design from this era, because this is a certain era. So what era is that? That is the 50s, the 40s. I think that's the 40s, right? That style.
Not too sure.
Yeah.
Like the title of the thing says something with 39, but I don't know. I think it's inspired on some design from 1939.
Yeah, it's like 40s.
The
So
40s pretty.
check that out, right? Like, look at that. That's 1940, right? So, and then on top of it, if you do 1940s, we're gonna get like really space agey stuff. Like, look at that, right? Because that is handmade. That's going in and doing all the lots of panel beating. So you have that full expression of like crazy shapes. Are you liking that type of stuff?
Generally not.
There's the actual
just
car.
this one design. I mean, a lot of it is like, in a weird way, it looks like super retro or old school, but it also kind of looks super sci-fi. Like it's a weird design.
Well, I guarantee we're going to see these cars come back. Why not? This is the destination for simplicity. Look how simple it is. I mean, they're doing it now, right? This is a modern car made now. Guaranteed they'll come back. So the fact that we got rid of metal grills is because we're going to hit people with them and just destroy them, right? They're too barbaric. But if we all have electric cars and everyone's, there's very little room for error, then we'll get all that cool stuff back on cars. It'll all come back. Because it'll be like, hey, we can, no one's been hit. Why not just make crazy ass cars again? This is what it is. And then, does anyone need to wear a seatbelt again? Well, then you then strip the cockpit of a bunch of stuff, right? Like, it's crazy. You don't need a steering wheel, right? Like, all that stuff comes back again. All the stuff that we used to love about concept cars comes back. Like, look at that, right? It's just, pop-up lights, they got rid of them because it would just like, when you get hit, it would destroy you. I don't know even if this is 1966. Like, look at these cars. This is why you love it. But the fact is that these cars are not, like, if this was electric, you probably could do stuff like this. Because, I mean, there's no headlights. There's no, look at the rear lights. Like, they're tiny. What happens if you're driving behind it? You need to see it brake and stuff like that. So,
to be fair, I like modern car. Like, I'm not a huge car person, but I like modern cars a lot more than like this kind of stuff usually.
Well, I think we'll get more simplistic in our designs moving forward because we do have electric stuff. I mean, the fact that we get to take the grill away, the radiator, there's no more radiator stuff. That, you look at the Tesla, and so we get more simple. So it depends, really what you want to get from it. And I mean, you haven't really told me any story to this. Where's your base of your idea sitting for this? Like, you need like a 10%. You need like a little seed of something, and if you're telling me that's your little seed of something, then what I'm understanding is like, okay, you want really simple panels that are flowing essentially. So like, it would be. Have you ever seen the Fifth Element robots at the start of the movie? Maybe it's something like that.
No.
These dudes have a simple but then detailed. Like, there's some kind of simplistic and a bit of. See how like there's a lot of clean shapes and then some detail. Like, that's really thinking outside the box type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of what you want to do. You want to create a design language like this where it's like robotic, simple. So even if you look at those fingers, there's actually no detail on the fingers. It's just the structure. So you have to actually stop yourself from detailing, right? So with this, if we come in and do this, right, which is perfect, right? So I think you would be able to get this done a lot quicker too, because you're not going to get hunkered down on like all the little things that oh damn it, I'm using a different ZBrush again. Okay. All right. You're not going to get stuck on all the little things that will get you stuck. So what you have to focus on is like, okay, what are the legs look like? These panel lines look like, right? And so you would just be building up the form and having a smooth bit of geometry. And then like everything has got like this smoothness to it, essentially. This is what you're saying to me.
Yeah, the problem is like, I'm not sure like how well, in my opinion, how well that translates from the like car design, because with the car it's just slick, it's sexy, but with this guy I feel like I want him to have some amount of detail and stuff, so it looks cool. I feel like if yeah, that's it. I'm not sure where I'm going with this.
There's no shame in having clean designs. Like, there's no shame. It would actually be a refreshment from seeing all this stuff. So you could say, like, for this, I mean, you could get rid of like this detail here, get rid of this or whatever this is. This is all just been chucked on there and hope it can stick. So like, even like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is just crap to make you go, hey, detail, I've done good. But like, how the hell would anyone interpret this? So it would be a refreshing take that you actually just go, hey, I'm not gonna just chuck stuff and hope it sticks, because you could actually just make this like really simple. And because this is what we do with stuff, we detail things and we hope it sticks. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm just like, I'm just filling it in because that's what I know is gonna sell it. And we all get stuck doing that. You actually don't have to do it because this is your personal stuff. But for client stuff, it's like, hey, let me just do a photo bash and it will shut you up. But then, look, someone else has to solve this and be like, hey, the character artist goes, what's all this stuff on around the collar? And it's like, oh, I don't know. And they ask the concept artist, well, what is it? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, does the concept artist want to solve it? Probably not, because they can't. Because it would be more work than it is. Like, you'd have to go in there and really solve that stuff. You have to be like, okay, this is something, this is this and this. So you actually don't have to obsess about, because you're just going for this. So you actually have so this is easy for you. This is going to be easier. So you can actually do it. It's just that you're not making it easy for yourself, because you're going, I want to do all that stuff. So like, I could come in and this be like, all right, I'll add some randomness, and that already looks cool, right? Like, whatever. I'm just trying to find something, but I don't know what all that crap is. I can just like place all this stuff, right? But generally, I don't know what this is yet. So, and then it's like, oh, okay, I've got some stuff there. But what you have to do is, you have to then go, I'm going to refine it and understand it in the most simple way, where I'm going to not do my whole obsessiveness of adding detail for the sake of adding detail. So you could then be very selective. Well, okay, I want just this detail. And, oh, there's a dude in there. I was just surprised. What's in here? That's the weirdest pose ever, dude. You haven't told me nothing about this, and I find a dude inside. You're holding secrets. You're holding secrets from me. What's going on? This is the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time.
You missed a great opportunity of just removing his pants. You know that?
Oh man.
It's just completely naked in there. Just like,
He's holding out on everyone.
You know,
He's just being really quiet.
controlling it with his fucking joystick. Yeah.
He was really quiet, and he's like just hiding it. What's going on? Come on, you're not. What is this? You got a story there. I asked you. What's the story?
I was figuring out how to make like the kind of proportions I want, and I like first this was supposed to be like an armor or something, and then I realized that the kind of proportions I wanted, like a real person doesn't really fit in that. Like, if his arms were actually in the arms, like nobody has shoulders as wide compared to their height as this suit thingy. So what I did is I looked at the what's it called, the Hulkbuster from the Avengers, and checked how they did it, and they have that kind of design that the legs are kind of going into the legs of the suit, but the rest of the person's just in the torso. And I was just going for that kind of thing, and the pose is basically just, I tried to make him like take up as little space as possible and make sure that he could like be holding onto a joystick or something to control the whole thing. But yeah, I basically just have him in there, so whenever he clips through somewhere, I know I have to add a little volume to that.
All right. So that
It looks
totally.
pretty funny if you hide the head, and then the head of the guy just sticks out. It looks hilarious.
Let me do that. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Okay, look, but then that changes everything.
All right.
It changes the whole design. So you have to you've got cool stuff to work on. Then you can get your little automotive thing into it. So you can make this like the automotive, just think this is like a big version of a walking car, right? So if we think, okay, we need to, like, that dude is inside the chest. So I'm then thinking, okay, well, if you were to get into this, right, at what point, like, what will open up? You know, how will it open up? Is it going to open up like a cool Lamborghini, or, you know, the fact
I was
that
thinking it should open like vertically, like the top panel should just like open up, and maybe the head can come off.
Well, I mean, you could always flip it and open it from the back. You could always be different. So you're saying at the shoulders here, like that?
Yeah, or I think actually the back, now that you said it, the back kind of offers itself to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd rather get into the back of something than in the front of it. So, because I think the back...
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, the chest like you've got all the mechanics around the chest, and plus it's different too. So because trust me, if you make it so this opens from the front, you have to change the design a lot more, I think, on the chest to get it to open up in such a way. But I could be wrong. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know until I actually do it. It could be just a different way of doing something, really. I'm probably more going towards that. It's like more of a new way, because I've always seen things open from the front. So I always do, whenever I can make an opportunity to flip my thinking, I will. So I'm like, okay, let me just do it at the back too. So, and then maybe there's actually a better opportunity there, because with everything in life, the good or the bad that we get is more about looking for new opportunities that we have. And so if we can find an opportunity to explore, we'll find a thing where it will be maybe not, it's not good, it's not better. Essentially, it's just different. And if you can be different, that's when you're better. So, because everyone's doing the same thing. So, if you do the same thing, so if we open it from the back, like so, and then, then we get to see the back of it too. And we're like, well, that's kind of different. Then that's totally different. Like, you could even have the head come out. So the head, oh. So like the head could come out open too, but that might be a bit funny. Or let me see if I do. You could, well, this thing probably won't. Do you even think this would move its head? Probably wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, probably not.
So then,
like the tech in there can like rely on cameras and stuff for all that, so it doesn't need to actually move its head. Just has to be rigid and be able to take punch. While I was working on it, you asked for a story, and I didn't want to say something, but while I was working on it, I thought it would be kind of cool if it was like maybe a sci-fi gladiator thing, that people get into these suits and then they beat each other up with lightsabers or something.
all right, that's cool. There's no lightsabers in your universe, though. You have whatever. You make something new. You know, like the fact that you said lightsabers, you just think of Star Wars, and then you somehow put Star Wars into your work. So, unless you want Star Wars, but this is where I'm just saying, hey, I'll catch you out on whatever you're thinking. And then let's say you want to actually do no Star Wars. Like you don't want to be Star Wars driven. So I mean, so that makes it look totally different, right? Fusing the back to the front. So then the weird thing is that we can then express a different type of head design, which then, since it opens from the back, it's completely original then. It almost completely original. Well, it's original to you here. And so you end up having almost like an inverted version of the traditional thing, because it will be like almost like there's an importance from the flow that you get where we're flowing to the front of the back, and then it's like all fused, right? And then you'd be like, okay, it's almost like I'm infusing automotive design. Like maybe this is a light, like a car in the front. That looks corny. So then you have to find another thing. You see, like it, or you'd be like, you're trying to hunt down something different. And this is way more menacing now, right? Way more menacing. Because then if we go here, now it opens from the front. That's kind of cool. It's like a car opening up. So then because I'm thinking about this car. I'm not thinking about a character. You're thinking more about the car, and then you're pushing it into it, right? You're getting the fundamentals of like, I like the fact that you like the car is the fact that you actually like the car. So you need to get in. Like you haven't looked at one character and then I want to put these qualities into it. So the way you're working is from a car to a character, and then you will infuse those things. So when I do certain designs, I'm like, okay, let me think of a motorbike. I like the motorbike aesthetic, and then I'm going to infuse it into a character. I keep messing up my hockey. So the fact that we've got this like that, it's totally different, right? And this means that this fundamentally changes everything, the way we have the shape language, right? You create a new shape language for yourself. You go, well, I don't know, maybe it doesn't even have this type of stuff there, and it's like, look at the beautiful shape language that the flow will come to you, because you don't have detail. Detail gets in the way of getting that nice shape language. A car doesn't have crap all over it. It just has the nice smoothness. And then it would be like, well, it has sort of like that panel construction line, like that, right? And then you'll have to be very gentle. You have to be like, well, where are the panel construction lines? You have to be very gentle with that. You have to, and then we go, well, I want it more sharp. So as soon as you go around like that, it changes the influence, because your eye just follows this. It just follows that line. But then you go like this, it changes the feel immediately. So you have to be gentle when you do this stuff. You have to be like that, or you just be really quick with it and see what you can find, because sometimes you're too predictable with that type of stuff. Or you can come into.
So if I still want to have, like, because this is not a car, this humanoid, so is like the difference between that and a car is it's going to have joints. It needs to move in a very different way. Maybe the joints would be a place where I could put some of that detail that I want to have.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you
because
like.
the thing is, I also want to use this as an opportunity to practice. And when it comes to all the layering and detail stuff, mostly the layering, but also detailing, making something look complex and sci-fi-ish. So you look at it and you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like Vitaly. That's something I'm really not good at, and that's something I'd really like to practice. I don't know if you remember the designs I showed in the.
Even psychologically, don't compare yourself to Vitaly. You need to express your own thing. Don't do that. So you corner yourself, because you're never going to think like him, no matter what. Whatever life experiences that you're going through right now, you're never, ever going to think like him, and you can never think like him.
Right.
As soon as, you know what I'm saying, don't compare yourself to others. Do not compare. You'll shoot yourself in the foot, because whatever you're going through right now, detail won't win you awards. Execution will win you those awards. You expressing yourself will win your self goal and the rewards for yourself, because you're going to feel happy. And the thing is, what happens is it's like a snowball effect. You keep doing good work and it builds and it builds. That's his path. He's on his own snowball effect of building himself up from doing all these accomplishments and goals, right? If you sit, just admire it, be in awe, aspire to do better, make it inspire you. Don't compare. Don't go, I need to be like someone else. You can never be like someone else. I
didn't mean like I want to be like Vitaly. I just used him as an example to convey what I was trying to explain.
But you know what you want to do, I think. So the fact, when you see someone else's work, we try and then mimic it. It's that whole like monkey see, monkey do thing. But you can't do it, and you'll end up getting frustrated with yourself. And at that point, you'll deter yourself from pushing forward. So if you fail all on your own and figure out your own language, so if we just take in the bare basics, because then if we start introducing too many things, it will overwhelm us too. With exploration, if we try and go, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'll have the one thing that I want to go for is, you want to go for that simple automotive design, but then you've got the counter argument that you want detail. There's one over here and the one here, right? So then you have to meet in the middle. So Vitaly's like, he's got a lot of detail and a lot of shape language and things like that. So you have to go, well, you have to meet somewhere in the middle. But you don't think about his stuff. Just think about your inspiration originally, because what will happen is you might actually lose the fundamental. You might actually lose what you actually want to go and do originally. You've had this initial inspiration, but then we want to take a bunch of things and then inject it. So just aim at doing, focus on, because you could always add detail, because you'll add it at the last stage too. So this point here, like adding this thing here, this is like too much detail, like adding that stuff. So, that's why I'm zooming out. I want to focus on what looks good, right? Because you can always come in here and then add, some little things like that. I don't know, just anything. Like it's just stuff at the end of the day. It's just like you're adding. I'm just putting a random. I'm not even thinking about. I'm not thinking about this stuff too much. So, because he would have a process of doing stuff where he's just focusing on the form, and what we do is it's like, as soon as you start adding detail, you'll get obsessed with adding the detail a little bit too early, and then you overlook the overall form and structure and things like that. So what you got to do is create your primary cool shape. And so what we're looking at is just the coolness of this, like the fact that this is cool, right? We've got some secondary. This is kind of like the secondary stuff here. And so when you made this, did you focus on making it? You didn't, like, the fact that I've come in here and I'm from pretty much day one, I've gone, okay, well, how the hell does this open up, before thinking about any detail? Because what will happen is, okay, well, if this opens up from here, what happens then? Some detail will come here. There you go. There's some detail. There has to be a joint there or something, right? And then you think, okay, well, maybe there's a locking mechanism from here to there.
All right.
That's where your detail starts coming in. So we look at other people's work, and there's like detail for certain reasons. It could be just to satisfy the detail itch, or to actually give it a purpose. And you rather go towards the purpose, because then you don't, say if you came in and were like, okay, I'm yeah, it's cool, I like this stuff, like I'm going to try and make it stick. I mean, that was something last week that we went over. I think Gene had that design. That's a hard way to work, like with a lot of detail. but it's possible. But you want a clean design, right? So if we come in and we try and rationalize some of this stuff, but then we lose that nice flow. So we have to start simple, work our way up. And it's out of pure necessity. So the fact that we look at this car, the necessity to have certain things, like what's the necessity? They want to get rid of even the door handles, right? Even the wheels. So their necessity, the reason why you're liking it, because it's so clean and you get to focus on the shape. And then on top of it, they've got pinstriping to highlight the curves. It's drawing your eye. So this is what you've kind of done here. Like you've done pinstriping. I'm not sure if you did that or I did that. You did it? Like the pinstriping. Yeah. So you're having that subconscious, this is like a pinstriping effect. You've actually traced around the curvature. So like there's a curvature there. You've pinstriped it. So then you once you start fundamentally breaking down the design, you can do it. So this is why you don't look at other people's work, because they have different things going on. They have, and the thing is, you interject it. So where your fundamental design comes from, just live with that and just add little bits of detail for necessity, because that way you don't create unnecessary details. And then people just, and what you get to do is you get to just have a cool design. I mean, like to me,
I really like what you've done with it is like the way you fused the back of the shoulders with the head. Kind of looks like horns going out, and that adds to the menace factor and everything. That looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I'm gonna pick up in the design, and when I continue working on that, I'm gonna give him these horns, maybe pronounce them even more a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely see the inspiration from the Hulkbuster, and especially since now, okay, we have an understanding there's someone inside of it. I need to increase my draw size. You could play with proportions for the arms a lot more. So I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, you could just like do crazy stuff like that, but then you're like, oh, it's too thin. But like maybe I'm just trying things here. I mean, maybe you do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then you've got like quirkiness, because this is just this is kind of generic. So if you just like mess with stuff, you're like, well, how the hell do I mess with stuff? And what actually can I get away with? Like, can I make the like big burly arms? Like, the fact that these arms aren't arms means you can get away with stuff, right? They're not. There's no hand in there. You're not breaking anyone's arms to put things. So you could be like, well, I don't know, you can jack up the arms. I mean, it's just you see how things start to, they sing differently, right? And this is because I'm not looking at anyone else's stuff too. Monkey see, monkey do. Always remember that. You will always shoot yourself in your foot when you look at other people's stuff. So when you have your base idea and just express it, and then play with oppose yourself in such a way where I'm going to break things a bit. I want to just be like, yeah, what about massive shoulders? And you're like, whoa, like it's.
I wanted to actually try doing the massive shoulder thing. What the fuck?
Looks like a crab.
I tried doing the massive shoulder thing, but then I got concerned with the range of motion for the shoulders if I do that. So
yeah.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I've been thinking this for a little bit now. This kind of looks like, since you were talking about how this was like a gladiator guy, what if you had like his abdomen like blow up like a frog, right? That'd be kind of cool. Like his face kind of looks like a frog, right? So you could have like this some sort of defense mechanism from punches, right? That just blows up his abdomen to like sort of muffle the punch or something. This looks fucking awesome. I think that'd be something to think about, or something else.
See how quickly a design can change? Because you know why? I'm not attached to any idea. I have nothing in my mind right now except just breaking it. I want to break it, right? I want to break it. The thing is, this is where you get to have fun. Your personal work is a fun playground for you. Client work is not fun playground. Like I'm on a job now and it's like not a fun playground. It's a bit of a slug because I don't get to break stuff. I don't get to explore. You know, once you get past certain point, there's no more fun. Like you get to, this is probably where people's motivations to do personal work go, I'm going to have some fun. That's what you have to really label stuff as. You get to break stuff. You go to work and it's not so much fun. It's like you're going to have to do and please someone else. So like you can see, I've just pumped up a few things, and you know, like there's lots of ways to play with it. And this is why I've got those brushes there. This is why, because I know.
What brush is that? Is that just an inflate or what?
The magnify.
It's not an inflate.
So the magnify
Okay.
brush. The inflate. So I've got the inflate one too. It does a different effects. See? So that's because I want to, and I've got this to my. This is the fact that it's in the here means I want to actually click on it. Right? I've got it in my first hotkey to get to my brushes, because I'm this is where I'm starting off, and then these are my refining brushes, my secondary kind of refinement stuff, and that you can see that they're more refined brushes. So this is that brush pack that I have, and I've got like stuff like this. It's a crazy one, because sometimes I'm like I still get a little bit stuck, and I want to break things, because we get stuck like we do. It's kind of that opens up. See how ideas and brushes can generate things? And you can make that into something different. Like you would never have thought about putting that shape there. You would never think about it. So you have to have no preconception. If you want to be creative, get rid of your preconceptions of what you want. Have your base idea and your base expression. You have this one, you have to question, what is my fundamental want in this thing? And that's the car. That's what you've expressed to me. You want this like cleanness. And so to get that is going to be challenging. See, now the silhouette, like the car, this is like a nice silhouette like that, right? You start to question things. What can you do? So this probably puts more questions in your mind more than anything. But then you have to once you start refining it, you have to stick to it. The fact that this shape flows from the back, that's kind of sexy, right? Because it's round and voluptuous. This is how you explain it. Voluptuousness is attractive to the general, because it's like, I'm full of food, I'm full of water, look at me, all that type of stuff. So there's lots of ways to go about all this stuff, and it's easy just to come in and like the fact that I'm drawing some details, it just changes the design, and I'm not committing to any of that stuff, and I'm just scribbling, and I could come in, I could invert that and then play with that too. Like I don't even model like this usually. I'm just like breaking my traditional ways. There's 1,000 different ways to do something, thousands and thousands of different ways, and this is where we're constantly evolving. It might feel like you're doing the same thing every day. That's because you are. So if you come in and then break your thinking and then reinvent it with always have thinking. And so this is where like detail comes into it. And this is where like photo manipulation, it's kind of exploitive, because you're using real life things to anchor yourself to, and then can provide convincibility. This is where there's always that poor bastard on the other end has to try and make sense of this stuff. And if you don't, like, if I just sent this to a client, shame on me. Go, like that's shameful for me, because I'm like, hey client, this is cool detail, it makes sense, but I have to oftentimes come in and refine the hell out of it, because I want to be nice to the person on the other side too. Like I don't want them to have to question things. It's not their job to do that stuff. So yeah, does that, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and the things you're doing with that are just mental, by the way. Like there's like no, it's just madness, and that's so interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Right now I have the problem, you did so much cool stuff with it that kind of inspired me, but I don't just want to do the things you already did with it, because it's supposed to be my design. Like this, not a modeling mentorship, this is a design mentorship. So I can't just steal what you did to it now. So I have to come up with something cool on my own. And
dude, there's
difficult.
100 different ways that you could do that. I just want to break your thinking, your train of thought. That's all.
By the way, did you already upload the last week's lesson on YouTube?
Oh no, I haven't. I'll have to do that. I'll do that.
All right, because I wanted to look at that again and to remember what you did with the helmet, because there was some interesting stuff there
Yeah.
as well. All right.
All right.
Yeah,
Shall
thanks.
we do someone else now? Who
Yeah.
wants to go next?
I'd like to go next if I can.
All right. Where everything starts as a mess, then refines
Yeah.
itself.
Okay. So this
Well,
is just
good.
the part I made.
Yeah.
So go into the one with 17 on it in the toolbox. You see there?
So
There's a-
you're zoomed in. It's Did you know that you're zoomed in?
Am I zoomed in?
Yeah, you're zoomed in on your document. That is.
Oh no.
Because I've just loaded you. I've essentially loaded up your settings. I'm just saying. Have you
Yeah.
ever?
I have a 2K or 2,500 pixel screen, so.
Okay, so you have to zoom in. All right.
Yeah. So go into the
Alright.
toolbox. There's like a one with 17 on it. That's I think the worthwhile that I used.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's got all this stuff on it. Yeah.
So what's
You have to
going?
use live boolean for this.
Yeah. So what's going on here? That's the
Yeah,
the question.
So this is kind of like a hovercraft I thought of.
Yeah.
I showed this to Marcos and Gene, and they liked it a lot. It's inspired by a little bit by Battlezone, but I thought I'd make my own thing, just like this hovercraft thing, kind of just a hovercraft, I guess, that can float on like the moon or something.
Yeah.
So there are two meshes on top of this. One of them is shipped with jaw. That one is disabled.
Yeah.
I'll explain that later.
Okay, we've got a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah, the file is a mess.
Yeah.
Absolute mess, but
that's all right. I can kind of see the evolution of where you come from.
Yeah, I started with like the Z spheres, and I made that into a thing, and then I fucked around with that.
All right. So it's like a anti-gravitational. Was it anti-gravitational ship or not?
Yeah, it's like a hovercraft thing. So it has like a disc underneath it that just like can be rotated around to like move the gravity, I guess, sort of. And then the engines too will be able to move.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, you're the one that did that like cartoon, right? You did the cartoon.
Yeah, I did the cartoon. Yeah.
I can kind of see the style come out. This is cartoony in nature. It feels like it. Is this so the question is, do you want a cartoony nature of your whatever you're trying to do?
No, I'd like to make something sci-fi-ish that looks realistic. I just don't know how to. I can concept stuff like this, but I don't know how to take it further. I always get stuck with this stuff. I try and make parts of it, like I did with this one, and I worked pretty well. But yeah, just breaking it up, making it mechanical, sci-fi-ish, realistic.
I mean,
but I also didn't want to put too much too.
This design looks better than this design.
Yep.
Because I mean, like this kind of seems cool. If I reskin this, unless I think you've got the skinned one. There we go. So if we go back to square one, like I dynamesh this, and so all right. The understanding is that you want it to be. The question is, you need a little man in your scene. So where's the little man? I'll get a man. I'll import a man. Or woman. Let's see. Okay. Male anatomy. Range of movements.
Take some notes.
I don't know what scan data I got. I just want to get a dude in the scene or something to... I thought I had my scan pack for different like civilian characters, but I don't think I've got it. Oh, it's just a head. Let me do it again. Okay. Body, clothes. Here we go. Alright, you've got a man. Alright, where's that scene? Where are we? Here we go. We'll append it. Bring him in. Shrink him down. Okay. Right, where is everything? I think I want to be able to get this. We can get it. Come on. Did you work on the XYZ axis? The actual, there it is. All right. So there we go. We've got scale. All right, it's isolated. So we can have it like, it's like that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something, but inversed. Depends what the resolution here is. So if we come in, so the resolution, we could size this up instead. Then see how things just already start to materialize in the sense of you need to, like, the person can get into this thing, right? So your understanding is, God, I hate this menu. It's not working. Let me just do this. So then just putting that person there, like just a boom. You start making sounds. You're like, okay, I'm getting into it. All right. You're like, well, this guy, is that a cockpit? Does that make sense? So you're like, well, okay, cockpit shape has to be here. Then you're like, oh, that's a bit. You don't want to be too corny with the cockpit. But is this kind of like the scale that you would pick?
For this guy? It's a
Yeah.
little smaller, but yeah, sort of like this, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could always evolve the size, and I mean, I kind of like the weirdness of the front. So it's kind of like maybe we can play with it. It almost feels like Wipeout. You know the game Wipeout? Wipeout?
Oh, I never played. Oh well, I've seen.
You've seen it, yeah. I think everyone's
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We can like flatten that maybe, or just play with something. And my brain doesn't want to see something. I'll change the material. So yeah, that's all right. Sure. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say what inspired this was well, at least the shape underneath was like I thought, well, at least in Battlezone, they have ships that have faces on them, right? And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have sort of like a jaw thing on the front of it to be like sort of make it look like a creature of sorts. I thought that was like the idea for like the different meshes too, like the machine.
Yeah. So that's your
actually extruded it out and like made teeth for it and stuff.
Yeah. So that's your base idea, right? So we want to go with that. I'm just trying to express things. And you're like, nah, I don't want wings, or it's like this slick, kind of like a slick design, but then what is going on with me? So if we come in and do that, and maybe this will be, so then you start deciding, is that the jet propulsion part? Like, and then how would the jet propulsion look? You could be like, well, I'm just going to do traditional jet. Boring, right? We've seen it. And then you think, well, no, did I set the resolution too high? All right, we're all good. It's not frozen. You're like, well, maybe I'll come in here and I'll do like a jet propulsion like that or something. Try and make this work. Maybe your jet propulsion isn't like a jet in a traditional way. So you try and just think, you're always kind of opposing the thoughts that you naturally have with those things that you always see. You're meant to be designing something new, and so, and I am probably being too detailed. But see, essentially, I haven't gone. I think what you're doing, you're focusing on these really big shapes. Really big, and then keeping them there. I mean, you've kind of not gone to the secondary. Kinda. But maybe this is here, and you've added the disc. The disc has more detail than, where is the scene?
That's an absolute mess. I apologize about that.
Yeah, it's alright, I've been pretty bad with my stuff. So management of scene files is something that clean up once you start getting your sense of bearing of where you want to take things, or just if you have people can work unorganized, they can. So clean up your stuff when you're finished. Don't leave it like this, because then when you come back to it in a year, you're like, oh, what do I have done? Because you've left it in a mess. So like you can actually have a sense of understanding of what you've got currently. Like some people do. Like I've dated people that have been really messy but really organized people in their day life. It's weird. So you can be like that. You really can. So, but then there's some people that have been really clean and they've not been organized in their day life. So whatever you have going on here, it's I would suggest clean it up at the end. That's my suggestion, because then you can go back and find stuff.
Just in case you're going on a Zoom call and someone else has to use your scene.
True.
Right, yeah.
Yes, that too. So because I can't make sense of what you've got.
Absolutely.
So you can see like I've added. I'm just trying to hunt down some little things. So if we make a cockpit, and again, we want to start actually going. Okay, it has to open up. We've got our scale, and the understanding is like, okay, do we open it up like here? I mean, does it pivot from the back and open up? It could actually open up in two halves. So then we go, okay, maybe it opens down the middle there, and it opens up like it goes like this.
Or like a DeLorean, yeah.
Or it can go from the back or the front. So then we're thinking that this will be more work to make it open up in the middle, and then your understanding is that this has a break in the middle. So, I mean, we could do the whole. Hopefully it shouldn't crash. There we go. Then, I mean, we could test it. Or this, which is a harder mechanic. It goes psh, psh, and it's like psh, like that. You know, it does something like that. Which is always why you see similar. Or it's like, there's so many ways. You always want to be like to a client, just make it open up the simplest way. You just be like, I just want it to open up like that. You know, just leave me alone. Or even just like this, like that. That's so easy. Because if you have to do this whole sliding mechanism, you have to build like the little actuators or whatever you want to call them, mechanisms to, and then secondary mechanisms to move in, up, and down, like all that stuff. So it's just how you want to approach stuff. So
yeah, that stuff kills me, like thinking of how stuff like this is gonna work. Like I just thought like a lever joint was fine enough, like on the other one. But thinking of stuff like this, I can't do it. I have a really hard time figuring it out.
Yeah. You can do it. It just you have to figure it out. This is the problem. Yeah.
Do you think I should study like, I don't know, like mechanical stuff and like?
It depends. You could cheat a lot of it, so I wouldn't. It would just be the fact that no one's going to see it literally move for every little part. You can cheat it. It's like Transformers in the Michael Bay movie. They're not moving for real. Things are passing through one another and doing lots of fanciful joint movements and everything else. There's nothing going on there that's actually really moving. So, I mean, I guess what you can start doing is maybe extracting some bigger shapes. It's like you can start pulling out some shapes, experimenting with things, and adding some secondary kind of shape language to the top of it. So, or it really depends what you want from this. You could go in like always, you can go on 100 different ways, and oftentimes doing this stuff here at the very start, it's very hard to keep your traditional vision alive. So you'd want to be taking like screenshots and making sure like at the end of each kind of milestone in your like just conceptual vision, that you want to keep these visions alive. So you take a screenshot like this, and then go, I like this shape. Let me remember it, and I'll look back. If I deviate away from this, I want to make sure, because you'll forget, because you'll be like, I'm working it, I'm doing this stuff. Let me tweak this here, and you're just adding stuff on top, and then sooner or later, you're polished and you've made it square, and this is like it's totally changed, and you're like, but I like the roundness of it. What did I do to it? So now it's different. But if you have the picture there to remind you, you've got that. Okay, well, I stuffed up. I should have just come in and did something different here. Essentially done something different. Because you can get like that. Your brain will want to overwork things. Your brain will want to be obsessive about it. It's the only thing that you're taking in. You have this sense of tunnel vision. So you need to remind yourself of what you've got. And look, I do it all the time still. I stuff up and overwork stuff. And because it's the nature of the beast, or whatever you want to call it. So
I started out with Z-spheres to just like block out a shape I thought was cool, and then I thought, well, I'll just add some more stuff that I think look all right in the middle of it. That's why I made it like the little engine that like curves down a little bit in the other one.
Yeah.
Because I'm just blocking out a little bit, trying to be flexible with the design at least.
Yeah.
But seeing you do this really helps a lot to see how you work with something like this. It really helps to see like the choices you make, the path you choose, the stuff you experiment with.
Yeah. And I guess with a shape like this, you don't want to be adding too many things that would change the silhouette. You're trying to complement things. You're trying to be new. So just quickly undo it, or you can just move things like this, and you could be pretty, I don't know, you can smooth it. You're trying to then, like, well, maybe that's a stand now, and then you've got a stand. So you're like, okay, will it, when it parks, well, what about when it needs to sit? And then you start making, well, these legs are going to pull out. Maybe there's some kind of a mechanism in here, and like that will be a type of stand that come out, and then those will be clean though once it like goes up. So you're starting to think literal, little, because that would affect the silhouette, from that to that, right? Yeah. That's what you're kind of doing. You're kind of making, you're like a little kid, when you're working on this stuff. This is why you do these things. We're all children on the inside, and we're just sitting in these bodies that are aging, essentially, really, because we got all this programming from our, just from our upbringings, and we all want to be kid-like. We all want to have fun. It's the nature of doing this stuff. You're doing it because you want to have fun and enjoy it. And the reason why, so you have to question the reason why you did this, you're doing this stuff in the first place. Why? Why are you doing it? Because when you're little, you gravitated towards this stuff. You gravitated towards being creative. You gravitated towards making stuff. And you got to remind yourself and do these little cues, make these little sound effects, have some fun with it, because that will spur your creativity. Don't be afraid of yourself. Don't be afraid of expressing yourself. Because if you're afraid of expressing yourself, you never will express yourself. So, yeah. I'm not sure what else you want to see me do on this. I guess with this, you would have to refine it and make, once you start, because you would add more detail coming in, and I would have to up-res this, like so. And then you have to start breaking away panels and things like that. And you're like, well, there's a cockpit. And you start defining stuff. You're like, well, and all this wobbliness will, you'll start to refine the wobbliness, essentially. Because you're thinking, I love and hate doing cockpits. I hate doing them because there's so much work.
I wanted to maybe do a character when I went out to try to do something for this mentorship, but I thought, well, I didn't really want to do it. Yeah, I'm not good at characters, so I thought, well, I'll
Yeah.
just try to do a fucking ship or something.
Oh yeah. No. It's the same thing. Like, it's just that you can do characters. You can do anything you want, essentially. It's just whatever you know, when you say you don't like, it's just that you don't have enough, you're not naturally inclined to do it. You're not. So you can see how I would come in and refine all this stuff. You know, I'm getting rid of that wobbliness. And like, okay, well, someone has to lie down. Let me punch some bit, you know, giving it depth. Just getting rid of the wobbliness. You're just analyzing all the little bits of irregularity. You think, well, looks a bit weird. You just refine, and I mean, this stuff, you know, this doesn't make sense, so you have to kind of like find what you want to do with it too. Do a bit of polish. Yeah, it's like no one's ever worked on cars before in here. No one. It's like you're, hey, a bit.
Just a bit at some point.
Yeah, like you ever like filled a car with putty and it's got a dent in it.
Oh my god, yes, so easily.
Well,
So easily get the dent in it.
have you
At least
patched
I
it
did.
up? You patched it up though? Is that what you're saying?
I modded it.
You-
I modded it in Max, and it was
Oh.
so easy to get dents in it, and
Yeah.
just everything has to be so sleek and so clean.
Yeah.
That was the real challenge for me there, to keep it so clean.
So like, this is what you get with cars. Right, it's quite cathartic doing this when you work on cars. You fix the dent. It's not a good way to fix a car. You actually don't want to put putty because it will crack and pop out eventually. And so like,
Oh wait, you mean in reality?
well, yeah, I mean, you're speaking in real. It kind of works both ways. So like when you
Oh, I actually helped my dad when I was little.
to do
I
this,
remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible.
yeah, yeah. Like this is kind of like what you're doing is you're putting the bog in. They call it bog filler, and then you smooth it out. You sand it, and then you do a guide coat on it, a bit of black, and you rub it back, and you see wherever the guide coat goes into the grooves, you smooth it out. But this is what people do. People do a lot. Like it generally, you'll weld up a little panel, and you put like a thin layer on top of it. That's all you do. If you put too much bog, it will crack. Like this is yeah, it's like a dodgy repair. This is why if you ever buy a car, get a magnet and go over the whole thing. Because if you've got any bog in it, you want to be taking thousands of dollars off that. Thousands, because it will just crack and fall out in like 10 years. So, yeah,
Ah.
there you go.
That's so weird. I always thought there was just like this one fucking guy at the workshop who just went into your car and just had a hammer and just fucking whacked those.
They can.
it.
That's the
That's what I
proper
thought.
way. But
That's the proper way?
that's the proper way. To
Okay.
hammer it out and weld in a new panel there, and only just put a little bit of bog, just a little bit, just to fill in the little dents and stuff. You can actually do it bogless, but that requires more work. But whoever's doing a full bog job on your car, you want to be careful buying cars. You get a magnet and you go over it, and you go, has it been crashed? And sometimes people won't even report the crash. They'll just bog it up, get it repaired. By law, you're meant to report anything that happens. So, yeah, be careful. So,
So I want to ask you a question now that you're working on this.
Mm.
Let's say you wanted to make this more mechanical, like with more parts
Mm.
together, not just like a single shape, like with the engines and stuff. How would you separate that from this? Like,
I
what would
mean,
you?
so let's say we have the jet. We'll go like this. You want to use that extract tool. And so we'll set the thickness down. We just want to get a little bit. We don't want to use too much extraction because we want to take the detail that we have here. The higher extraction, it will start to mess with the detail underneath. And then I just use the move tool and I'll move that out with the back face mask turned on. So you can see how it's not affecting the front or the back, depending on that. So, and then I'll just group that and then redynamesh this. And now we've got that detail there. Now we just want to push this in. Like so. There we go. And then we start to separate things a bit. And we can play with what you're building up with, you know, you can start coming in and refining stuff. Because now we've got a sense of, you know, the layering that I was saying last week. You know, once you start layering things, they avail themselves to you because your understanding is that you can break things down a lot more. So this would still need you need to figure out what type of jet propulsion you'd want here. Your understanding is like, I'm inventing technology. And so I'm just putting some weird landmarks, and I would have to come in and maybe like add some edges here and there and figure out, you probably want to start figuring out some further detailing in there. You know, where does the propulsion come from? See how it starts to kind of avail itself like that?
Yeah.
All this stuff requires work and thought and refinement, and it's difficult because you're having to solve problems. This is why it's like, it's easy to chuck details and stuff. It is so easy to chuck details and things and not figure it out. And there's some other poor guy on the other end that has to figure out all your work. And that's where you don't want to leave people. People won't like you much if you're just scribbling on stuff and photo bashing on stuff. They won't. They'll be like, you know, what is this crap? Trust me, I've talked to people who do the outsourcing stuff. They're like, yeah, I'll get concepts from people, and they just like chuck crap all over the top of things, and we have to sort it out. And it makes you question, like, you're not respecting the pipeline down later. You're just being really quick, and you're trying to milk stuff out, which is not fair. It's not fair to the rest of everyone else. So
It's like the architect who just makes like this crazy design. It doesn't think about like weight and stuff like this, like carrying the actual design.
Yeah, have some thought.
And stuff.
Just some thought. That's all you got to do. You don't want to limit yourself, but just have some thought. You're not limiting yourself because you're still having some thought, and then you're challenging the person there. And then because you're doing this in a production pipeline. Now you have to get it done. You haven't got oodles of time to solve that stuff. So if someone else can go in there, yeah, this is all meant to be, kind of, that's the hole, and maybe the fire comes out here, and we'll have to flatten, like, this is all probably a little bit too organic, and we have to kind of add some flattened edges. So see how I'm kind of solving that for them, just to be gentle on people. We're not that you're the bloody designer. They're paying you to design and solve problems. Like, you're that person that they come to and like, hey, we can't create a jet propulsion that looks cool and organic at the same time, but the in-house artists can't do it. They're not thinking like that. So wherever their experiences go, so you're taking that challenge, and that's why it's hard. That's why I said it's hard. So because it is hard. I get that all the time. I'm like, oh, this is hard, and that's exactly what you're getting paid for. You're doing for the hard stuff. If it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. Like that saying goes. So, but you can see how that's building up already. And my understanding is that we want to keep all like this kind of rounded shape. And okay, something has availed me, and I'll flatten this out here, just ever so slightly, and go like that around. Like that. 'Cause-
Because around here is when I would have like an idea of, okay, well, what if this engine just like started rotating around and like started moving on its own a little bit to like change the direction of the propulsion.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's right to do or if it's
You could have a
just
secondary
dumb
one.
thing to do.
That could be, this could be a secondary motor that has that type of thing that moves here. Because if this moves here, this would change the silhouette because this whole thing would have to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole back part would have to move. This would, yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
And also, do you ever use live Boolean when you concept at all? Or no?
Yeah. Yeah, like say if I want to let's say we just want to put a hole in something. Let's say here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, extract that. Did I extract it? No, I didn't. Okay. So again. So live boolean, and then we have to set the start one here on the right. So start. Then we have to make this the cutting object. So like so. Now I'll just like move it like that. What's going on with this? There we go. So if we want to put a hole, we just put live boolean on, and there we go. Like this should start making a hole. Right? Right through it.
Nice.
And then you want to be able to get that to your mesh. There's two ways to do it. You make go to boolean and make mesh boolean mesh. And that will go through everything though, and it'll create a new mesh. But then it tells you it doesn't work because you're a dirty man with everything in here. Because look at that, that's terrible geometry, right? That's not going to work. So what I do is I have to group this as Dynamesh sub, which this is the reason why I have that there. Group that as Dynamesh sub, push that up, and then I'll push that up. I'll turn live boolean off. And then I'll merge those two down. So that's white. That's my Dynamesh sub that I merged. And then I just redrag, and that should do it. Sometimes it doesn't do it because of the order. Now we've got it. It doesn't work in the traditional way, but it works in this way. Now that's all good. See? That's a little thing that you guys can do. Because it won't work when you have really dirty mesh. And you're like, why doesn't it work? Well, you got to clean up your mesh. You got to do something. So that's how I do it anyway. Now we've got that, and we can start working on it. And you start making it all cool. All right.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
No. Just continue.
So shall someone else want to go, or?
Can I go if someone
Sure.
else's time zone is more normal?
Yeah. You're probably, I think you're right. So, shall we go on to your stuff? All right.
Yeah. You should have an email with my WeTransfer.
Okay, we got WeTransfer one. All right.
And there's gonna be two files there, one image and one ZBrush tool.
So I think if I delete the folder for each week, you guys will be able to upload each week because it won't use the Dropbox.
Probably.
Yeah.
We can try.
Okay. So what's your email? 3D Medusa or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
that's the one.
downloaded that. All right. And it is face frame chest. And you sent me something earlier in the week. All right.
I'm just giving them to people in the office, like, here, look at this, listen to what he's saying, apply it.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good that it's helping and not doesn't confuse you, and I want to just inspire people to really have confidence, and that's
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah. Tough
Okay,
love.
cool. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very, very much.
All right, shall we get to your torso here?
Yes. So
Alright.
I focused on the torso, like you told me. Can you open the image, please?
Yeah, I got it here. So this is the image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after last week, the one on the left, that's the one that they had before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after last week, and what you've talked about and what you said, and on other people's stuff, and I just considered that. And then on Saturday, I woke up and it's like, okay, I have to try this. So I got to these two.
All right, and definitely a big improvement. That's for sure. Definitely, you've really looked at, and you still complemented what was there, like your original idea, and that's kind of how you work. And this one feels more like completely new. You get the more armor sitting on top. It depends, like what one do you like? This is the question.
I think the one at the top, the one that you have the ZBrush file for, there's something about that it looks nice.
Yeah.
And like you said, I just pretty much stopped looking at the references and just figured it out.
Yeah.
I was spending so much time just looking at images, so just go through it.
Yeah, you can get what is it? Paralysis. Damn it, I forgot the name.
Analysis?
Is it analysis? Paralysis analysis? Yeah, you can actually get stuck looking at like the start. Like you're paralyzed to move on. You're looking at the reference, and all you got to do is dive. Like just make a stroke. Like if you ever get stuck, you're kind of like looking. You just go like this, and then be like this, and like this, and then walk away if you feel like that's too overwhelming. I don't know if they. Sometimes people. I had a chat with Aiden Gurez. He's on my YouTube, and he was talking about a technique where he set 10 minutes because some people get stuck, and believe it or not, to get into like a flow state too. So you, what happens is, you know how sometimes you can't sit, like if you find it just like I have to sit down for an hour, and you're like, how am I gonna do an hour, right? Just do 10 minutes, and then see how you feel after 10 minutes, and then 20, and do little bits at a time. Because it's like an addictive thing. You like it's almost like when you have one cup of coffee, you want another cup of coffee. You like it. It's like you're getting high because it's making you high, and your dopamine or your neurotransmitters are being rewarded because work does similar, but it's not in the same way. But when you sit down and you work, you start rewarding your sense of dopamine, and this is what they say is this certain flow state that we get into, and you have to actually have no distractions to get into flow state. Nothing. So like if you're on your computer, nothing else except work, that's it. The thing that you're doing is the thing. This is the thing. That's what you're going to do. And if you have trouble sitting down and doing it, and say if you're intimidated by it, just give yourself 10 minutes and just attack it. So yeah. But I guess with doing this, you then have to figure out the back.
No, I only focused on the torso, which was the smallest part, and once I get more used to it, or I don't know, it's just once I have a better idea about how to approach things.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
I can move on. So
we discussed that, didn't we? Yeah. Sorry about that.
I almost went towards the back, but I just stopped myself because I thought it would be more efficient on the time to figure it out here, like you guys were saying last week about smaller parts.
So with this, we could figure out. I mean, you see people, they do mesh extractions and they do the whole poly loop effects. I've never actually done this in ZBrush. I've done it in. Let me see. Oh, I've actually done it, yeah. I mean, this wouldn't be clean way of doing it. This is probably a terrible idea.
Actually, I masked these from the main body.
Yeah.
And then I just changed the shape of them. so that I can get the layering. My main problem right now is what if I like the way this looks now,
Yeah.
but I need it to be functional. This character needs to move, and I don't want to have rigid pieces bending and changing shape, so they need to be correct. How do I break it up,
Well,
considering all the, especially on the torso, which rotates and bends and
I
does
think
all the moves?
I think you could probably get away with a bit of bending. If you could bend it like 10-15%, no one's going to notice that. Right?
Okay.
Even Iron Man bends.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. That's impossible. So there will have to be some bending parts. So let's, I guess we'll take this collar part to the next step. But this stuff, like, generally, I wouldn't really want to clean it up too much in here. I guess for you kind of want to... Because you want to put this into a sub D workflow. I feel like it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we could do here is just clean up the general shape. Right, get it. Okay, say if we approach this in a sub D workflow. Because you want to be the person finishing this. Like, this...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, clean it up. I mean, you wouldn't even have to clean it up that much. So, say we try a zero mesh on this. No, let's do it like a low target. Let's do the zero mesher again. You just do it a couple times, honestly. We can even set it even lower. Alright. It's probably still too high. Some of the topology is a bit funny. So this probably... yeah, it really depends on what you want from it. But this topology is a bit crappy. You would have to come in and do the zero mesher guides. Let's try them out wherever I have them, which I never seem to use too much, but we'll give it a shot. Where is that? Should just work straight up. So there's a bit better topology, but you could actually just come in and rebuild the topology too. So I guess that kind of works. And I guess you would want to export it. All right. And then it's probably not the best way to do this, but say if you had more complex shapes that you'd kind of come in and do zero mesher for everything, and you want to get rid of all these details. Essentially, this detail here, you want to just get rid of it, right? And keep the pre-existing mesh there. Like, you would duplicate it first. So I'll go through a thing. So we want to do, wrong button. Duplicate it, keep it there, make the new mesh. You've got probably too much thickness here. So you'd want to come in and then clean up all this stuff. That's probably, I'm trying not to commit too much time to little things. But then we kind of buggered it up. Yeah, it's a bit more complicated than I thought. But you generally know what I mean. Like, you'd want to thin all this out, but even then you don't have to, because what you do is you'd want to come in. You want to get rid of all the dirty geometry, so zero mesher would work, and then we can see what we'll test it out first. Because I think this one actually won't work now. No, let me do it again. So you can see the zero mesher might be getting stuck here. I think it's stuck. It is not solving. No, it's solving it. So There we go. Because what you can do, this is alright mesh, right? So like we could export that. Let's just do this shape instead. Because this topology is okay. Like it's actually in the corners. But see, when you come to this, I show you this trick. Have I showed you that trick? You know, where I'll just draw like this. It's probably not thin enough. You want to draw all around the corners to get the topology. So this is another way of doing it. You're like painting topology. Does that make? Yeah. And then we want to do polygroups from the masking. Wrong one. It is polygroups. So we go to group masked polygons. Is that? Yeah. There we go. Now we do zero measure. Right? But keep polygroups. Freeze group borders. I'm not sure what the difference between that one is. Let's have a look. Let's experiment.
Okay.
All right. So that was freeze group borders. We'll see if we can see a disparity between the two. That is doing it way too different. So I think that is looking at the border topology and creating it round it. But let's do that. That will probably do something different.
Yeah, that's completely different.
Yeah. So if we just group that, it's all right. It's kind of, I shouldn't have done, so there was no point in tracing in the middle. Just, you can start saying, okay, let's change my assumption of what we needed. We might be able to get away with just something like that. So you just assess things differently. And then we do the same process again. Grouping. Group masked. So then we just do it like that. And look, we didn't even have to do it, to be honest. I'm just showing you where you'll get more complicated stuff, where you actually might want to get some topology to kind of go in your favor. And so essentially there we go, a little bit better. I guess maybe down here you want it, but you can see how it's kind of like going down the middle there and around. But really, it wasn't too bad. So say if we want to import, and we go. Let me go back. I thought I exported it. So which way again? I don't know why I don't have that there. Have you done some sub-D poly modeling before?
Yes.
Yep. So this is not, yeah, it won't be. Export it to downloads, that's fine. Alright, let's go. Alright, let's do that. Okay. Here we go. So we've got this chest plate. And so really, all this thickness stuff, you'd want to get rid of it, essentially. But generally, doing this type of stuff, you're sometimes better building the topology, but in some cases not. So really depending on what you want, it really depends. Like if you come in and just do manual retopology, you can predict where you want all your topology, or you can do it this way, because sometimes though you'll have something that's going to be way more complicated. Like a helmet would be way more complicated. So we want to just disconnect those parts. It's still connected.
This is actually pretty cool because I didn't think about it. I was thinking whenever I have something in ZBrush, then I just optimize everything, decimate, and then bring it and just start with I don't know, either tracing polys on top of that and then making them work on, or starting from boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can see how this can be very useful in certain situations in saving time.
Yeah. Getting a base, something there to start your base on. Because you could come in and go, let me, like, want that to be a crease. And you're slowly figuring things out. Maybe like that. And then we want to recreate this edge here. I haven't used exercise for a few weeks now. I've forgotten hotkeys. All right, so then we can, do a relax on here. You just start. Too much topology, delete some edge loops. You want to simplify this process here as much as possible. So if we look at that, now we can start building that topology up. Do we need that there? We kind of need that there, because then we're refining that topology. Oh man, what's my hotkeys? I don't remember. Alright, here we go. So you can kind of see how you've started to refine that shape pretty quickly. You would say, that's a lumpy bit of topology. Or is it? I mean, you could delete it out. Just any types of things, like, I don't know, say if it's completely flat. You just want it like fully flat like that. And you can go back and add. It's just an easy way to clean your surfaces, because you're working with hard surface stuff, and so you're assessing your topology. You're thinking, oh, what is actually needed in my topology? You're trying to get the quad look, well, quad as much as possible. You end up simplifying things and then having to. You don't want to be working against your topology. Like I feel like I'm over. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know what you want, so I'm just like doing anything here.
No, this is very, very helpful.
Yeah. So look, this is why people don't like doing this stuff. It takes a little bit of refinement.
Oh, I love doing this.
Oh,
I
you
can't
do?
wait to get it.
Oh,
I miss it so much.
Well, there we go. I mean, and so what you're doing is you're evening out the topology. I would say like topology this. So like this little edge here. If you're just sitting there and you just want to even out topology, because you can understand, you could have made this using the poly tool or whatever, but however you want to go about it. I mean, we haven't really spent too long doing all this stuff. And I guess what will happen, like you can see left to right, there's a big difference. Like you've already got that difference there. But you would have to even out all these, especially if you came in here. Let's see. I'm just trying to get things in the quadded up. And I mean, if we add things like certain, I gotta freeze the topology. You can start finding things. I just don't know what I'm doing here. I mean, I would even do this, to be honest. Working with the thinnest bit of geometry. But like generally I have no idea what I actually want to do. I'm generally like, I have actually no idea. So I'm just trying to show you what you could do. I mean, you would want to do this type of, so I guess Blender has this another technique where,
I don't know Blender.
Okay, don't worry about Blender.
I would be using Max, but you do your magic and I'll figure it out.
So, I mean, if we, this is where, like, I don't know, because generally I have to be able to plan. This is where sub D is difficult, because I have to plan what the hell I need to do. Right? In a weird way, I have to kind of foresee what I'm going to do. So generally when you work with like really bits of thin geometry like this, it's much more manageable when you're coming in. But generally, if I was working with this type of geometry, I would know there's a reference point for me. So with the other project that I showed you, the reference point would be, say if I came in and like I did a bunch of, let's say for example, I came in here. This is my reference point. So I can actually start planning my topology. This is why I'm a bit lost, because
what do you mean by reference point? Something to drive your topology or detail?
Yeah. So if I do this, I start adding. God, I'm in exercise mode now. I've already lost my hotkeys. Wow, that was quick. My brain had to like go and learn exercise now. I just thought it's my brain's not working. Invert, please. There we go. Oh my god, I already lost it. Sorry. Because I've been working in ZBrush for the past week and only been doing rendering on the other side stuff on other work. So this is like a reference point that I'm talking about. If we understood this was a detail and I imported it in here, okay? So I'm like, okay, well, I have to build topology in here for this to hold that detail. So say if we do this, but I actually wouldn't want to do it to that level. I would want to say we've got this topology. You probably won't even want this detail like that, but let's delete this, get this, put it down, subdivide this once. We've got some dodgy geometry, but just for the sake of keeping it, let's keep it. Now we have more topology to work with. Now we would want to maybe add that detail. So like we look at that, we look at this. See how it starts to come to you? Like I'm planning my detailing. So I would want to just build the base, and then we.
Do you go back and forth between this and ZBrush when you get an idea for quick sketches, or do you do them?
I mean, you could. You definitely could. There's no reason why you couldn't. So you could like push that in, get that a bit better. Generally, you start doing stuff like that. I mean, you'd want to line up all these things. And then add that cut back. So like, you're essentially working in this way of you've got a reference to you've got that reference, right, to start adding this detail, and essentially you can start just pushing things in further and working like, well, that's like a vent, but that's like really, that's like super rough. I mean, you could come in and add some edge loops. See how that now looks? You know, and then you start getting that type of sub D look to things. And you could even just go crazy. There we go. I mean, stuff like that. And then you can start separating those things. And coming in. Shift D. No, lost my hotkeys again. Disconnect. Where are we? Control C. Nope. No. I'm just trying to separate this loop. Control C. There we go. I mean, now that's a separate thing in there. You can add like a material. I forgot my material menu. Have I? No. There we go. And then we can just do like a different material. Start breaking things up. It's like that. Yeah, this is where your sub D workflow comes in, and like, oh, let's add a. No, forgot. Oh, Shift E. Cell. Shift C. Bulk detail. Let's do it. And Shift E. I have to like say them out loud. It's weird. I don't think it's a perfect bulk detail. It's a bit funny. I messed that up anyway. You know, you start to detail stuff essentially. It's kind of like this is the workflow that you're kind of going towards, but you notice how I ramped up. So if we have a look at all the parts that we have, say we started simple, you can start like this and then Shift Q, Shift. What's my thickness script? Shift T. That's a bit funny. Let me fix that. Oh, then we got this. So that's similar to the way you want to layer it. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably don't want to do it at this step, because once you you could. It really depends. No. You'd want to be like this with the edges. You want to select all your edges. God, I've forgotten the extra hotkey. Mark edges. F. Like I showed. There we go. No. It's just purely F. Gotta go around it. Here, F. The mark those edges. And then that would be your low. And then once you come in and subdivide this, it will go like that, and it's not going to subdivide that edge. Now we can go and just add those extra edge loops, and you can do those cool details you see all the cool kids do, like that. And it's like, yay, it's a trick me into thinking it's cooler than it is. You know, it's just the easy way to sell that, right? Layering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
this gives me extra options that I didn't think about. Oh, this is cool. This needs to be pretty textured and animated and just rendered and nice, and yeah, so this is really, really helpful.
So yeah, with working on that workflow, you got to kind of plan a little bit where you want to take things, just to pre-visualize things. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do it to about 40%, 30%. Does that make sense? So just to get a little feeling, because you could completely just leave it like this and then solve it here. Like I didn't have any of this detail there, but it depends. You got to be a pretty efficient sub D modeler too, but you generally don't want to be upgrading your sub D cage until you've really kind of gone in and like played with some shapes. You know, generally the shape exploration that you have is that you're going in and let's say we do this. All right, and you're working like this. You're growing these shapes, right? So you're creating shapes. Oh, did I just freeze it? I think I just did. So yeah, you're working. Oh, it's not doing it for some reason. Usually that we mirrored. Let me do it again. Because working in symmetry, there's There's something about working with symmetry that, nope, there we go. That should work now. Okay. No, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not thinking at the moment. So you can kind of like figure out some shape creation here. However you want to go about it. Usually that will be mirrored. And then you just like kind of subdivide that. And then you could give it some thickness after that. So if we go in and do this thickness here, quick thickness, and we are essentially, you know, creating new shapes like that. And you could subdivide this again, but you can see how we can start making some shapes. You'd probably want to subdivide this before doing that. This is if you are concepting in here, because you'd want to start pulling your geometry to where you want it, right? And cutting in certain things. God, I've forgotten all my hotkeys. Where's my split edge? Shift S. No, wrong one. I just want to split Alt S. There we go. So you can come in and add some extra little things here and there. But you'd want to actually do this even at the earlier stage. So you probably want to do it here. You could even just do it there. So sometimes when you come in here and you subdivide some of this, it will solve the problem of fixing your topology too. You can see how it made it all quads because you've done dirty topology. So if you want to keep everything quadded up, you can do that too. There's so many different ways to do things. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you have like a triangle, but say if we have a triangle on the top of the surface, it will matter around here. You know, it's like that little pinching, but you can see there's no pinching here. Well, the n-gons is not producing the pinching, but
Yeah.
the triangle will. So you got to be careful with placing those, because if we subdivide this, right, it's going to try and solve that. You can maybe fix that, but I doubt it. Since it turn it into quads, it's just bad topology, really. But you can see how you can just generate ideas from that. Like these organic, nice flowy shapes look pretty cool. Put a bit more love into it and practice and things like that. Yeah, you can come in and, well, this topology wouldn't hold that detail. If I was going to place something there, you would want more topology to hold certain details like that. So if you wanted to make like a vent or something like that, you would perhaps subdivide it twice. So then you have more to work with. Even then you need to start constructing some topology, and that would be the primary and the secondary forms. So this is where you're thinking about primary and secondary. This is mainly primary, and then you would add the secondary stuff, and you're cutting in things. And I don't know, I'm just spitballing. See, if I want to add some cool stuff there, and I want to cut that around, but that won't work. So you still want to be adding stuff. That's if I want to come in and, I don't know, that won't work. So you'd want to, yeah, I don't want to get too in depth to the polymodeling because it will take forever and everyone has to go through. But you can see how I can start constructing those things and seeing what it looks like. And just keep it in your smooth, keep it in that type of shade for a bit until you get the, you know, you can come and go in and, you know, if you want to add those things, it kind of starts working. So does that make sense? Like you're...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Because
if you want to figure out the functionality and cutting stuff off, do you do it here and test it out? like rotating parts or?
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to test it and rig it. Whatever program that you have, you're rigging things. So you can see how this is where you're exploring in sub D. And so you're free to do this a little bit better in sub D, because you can't do that so well in ZBrush. You can only do so much in ZBrush.
Yeah.
So, but you can still finish things in ZBrush. It will just produce a different design, really. So, but is that like clearing up? Because if you're competent with some sub D stuff, do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I think I would. I haven't modeled something in a while, but once it gets back to me, I'm pretty confident that I'll be fine. It's just remembering my shortcuts and what I used to do, but I have a pretty good understanding of the topology and how to use it and how to cut it up and put stuff.
Yeah.
So that they work together.
And I guess with you, it's just getting something that's aesthetically pleasing, right?
Yeah, that's the main issue right now, and having it functional. Like, if the guy was bending right now, these pieces would go through his body. There's no breakup in them. If they were to be most of them rigid, he would cut himself basically.
Well, I mean, if we even just you imagine each panel moving just a little bit like that, right? And then you start to shorten it pretty quickly. So that's the type of thing you would have to do. You would have they have to deform a little bit, and then also they would be sliding a little bit, but they're also deforming a little bit too. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
I think don't get stuck on that, because you can, like, I can deform it, and that will be a pretty quick movement, and no one's going to really be paying attention to it. So your abs have to move and crunch in the same fashion that these have to move and crunch. You can't make the impossible possible like that. You can't make it not move and deform. It has to. So it has to move and crunch, or you have to limit the range of movement.
No, don't want to do that. It has to be a very agile character, so it will go for cheating it a bit then.
I mean, you see people moving the medieval armor. They're still limited. You know, they still move, but they move limited. So you could slide these up to a certain point where maybe it crunches like that, but you want this. Yeah. That's the problem. You have to deform it past that point, so you can get all the panels to slide to here, and then the panels will deform and flex, and you get the full movement. So, but you'd want to do that all in one action, so you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very subtle. Right. But you'll try and problem solve the panels sliding against one another. That will be your primary focus, and then you go, where do we need to cheat?
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess, because I could sit and then sculpt to a certain degree here, but what I suggest is try and be explorative. Practice some sub D stuff. Get this to about 30-40%, and then practice some sub D, and do that. And don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just have fun with that sub D workflow. With taking some of these panels off, like you said, let's just focus on the chest. Take some of those chest panels and practice just some sub D stuff. You've practiced some ZBrush concepting and designing, then essentially practice the sub D workflow. Get your sub D workflow to be simple at the start, and then detail, like I showed you. You subdivide the mesh, then add more detail to it. Don't bog yourself down with topology, because you'd be like, hey, I can't do this. This is overwhelming. Anyone would find that overwhelming. It's too much topology for your brain to sit there and solve, and then you have to make sure there's quads and no triangles and n-gons, where you can have those things, but you have to hide them. So yeah, this is what you got to be aware of too.
Oh god, I'm gonna get the triangle nightmare again. Okay, just a small parenthesis. I don't know if any of you have had this before. So like years ago when I was modeling a bit more, I would have this real nightmare like every few nights at some point where I have this piece of rounded object with some details on it. Everything has to be quads, but I have this one triangle there. And no matter how much I edited that and tried to get rid of it, that triangle, I could not fix it. It would just slide and just appear somewhere else. I would just, and that nightmare never got solved.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know, did you
completely.
have something like this?
Yes, it's most of the time it comes after like modeling super hard for a long time
Yeah.
of the day, and then you're like in between sleep state and awake state, and you close your eyes, basically you will see wireframes after the day.
Yeah,
You
yep.
you see
Yeah.
white lines, fucking white lines. It's insane, dude. And then where in between those two states of mind, be sleep and awakening, you can resolve problems, topological problems that has no solutions, and you just tweak it forever until you really fall asleep. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
really
I have
happens.
I have a similar nightmare with topology that is loops around your entire model, just one edge loop that does not stop. That's that's something
the
I
same
struggle
thing
with.
then.
You know what you got?
It's like,
You guys put too much pressure on yourself to solve the topology.
Yeah.
Are you guys
Yeah.
talking about like actual dreams, or are you talking about like real, like a nightmare because the thing is hard?
No,
this is just a
dreams.
problem I have. But,
It,
yeah.
Oh,
the
dreams.
dreams.
Who cares? Just a nightmare.
Yeah,
Well-
my dreams come out of my head and they exist. So, you know.
Well, your dreams,
Because
your
that
dreams
that
say
one
something.
triangle, if it's like a sphere and there's like one triangle, it's because you have another somewhere else. In real life, if you have that problem, that's the solution. Like look for the other triangle, delete it, and fix it. Because
Well, it's
I
not a
modeled
complete
the-
sphere. It's
Huh?
a spherical object. It's not a complete sphere, so it's just an object with detail on it. So, in some cases, you might want to have triangles, so you
Yeah.
don't want to get rid of them.
That's
But
Add one
this
more.
one shouldn't be there, and you can't get rid of it. It's just like bending loops.
guys. You can't be perfect with topology. You can't be perfect.
That's
Perfect.
obsessing.
no, but stop talking about dreams. I'm talking about
Oh.
real life. There is that if you have an incomplete sphere, carry the freaking edge loop outside to the border.
Well,
There's-
you can look. You can be perfect, but the question is time, and does it matter?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
no, for sure, but like
Mm.
in real life, it's the thing doesn't exist, right? That's what I'm
Oh
saying.
yeah, yeah. You're talking about the dream.
I don't
Who
want you guys
cares?
to be perfect. I'm not saying be perfect. I'm saying like in real life, when you're modeling, that problem doesn't exist. That one
Yeah.
triangle in here doesn't exist. You know,
It
Marcos,
existed at
you
some
know it
point.
exists. You know it
that?
exists.
it fucking
Great,
doesn't
man.
because I modeled.
Chewing on your fucking stem, man. It's just like grinding against your head.
Oh god damn it! I modeled
You
modeled the
twist and
fucking
turn when you
spheres.
wake up. You got
Ah.
a cold sweat going. You fucking
Yeah.
Look, I had that issue with doing my last project. I was like, oh man, I did really good quads, and then I realized I had to change something. And when you change something, because you know how I was
Ah,
showing in that workflow where you subdivide it, because you plan everything, and if you subdivide it, you've got all quads. Majority of your thing, you might have some n-gons, but you get away with just quads and n-gons. And I was like, man, I got triangles, because I had to like do some hokey work. I was like, oh, this is dirty. This is dirty. But now I look at the mesh and I'm like, I actually forgot. I forgot that that's dirty mesh. Because it's all hidden.
Yeah.
It's all just snucked away. I make sure I terminate the edge loops and triangles in behind, something that you would never ever see. None of you are ever
Yeah.
going to see it.
Yeah.
But I know
Yeah.
how filthy and
Yeah.
dirty it is. It's like someone underneath someone's bed, and they just keep vacuuming around the bed. But underneath the bed is dirty. So like, it just
Marcos,
looks.
you can make a script if you can make a script that fixes triangles and meshes, you will make millions of dollars because there are so fucking many of us out there, man.
Come on, dude, just freaking like.
I wouldn't even worry about it. It's obsession. It's the fact that you're dreaming about it. It's like, I've got to get quads, and someone's told you got to get quads. It's like, it doesn't matter. If you can hide it, it will. The thing is, you know everything, right? When you render something, it all subdivides. It has to, and it all turns into quads no matter what. Problem is, it's all gone at the end of the day. When it's chucked into the render engine, it's all quads. It doesn't matter. And then on top of it, man, you have to decimate your geometry. Sometimes you got to do that, and then you've just made a sub D thing. You decimate it, and it's like, well, what was the point? It doesn't matter. To whatever gets to your goal, just do it. Like, look at the game industry. The game industry is dirty. It's like, it's a dirty version of the high-res version of art, and it's been like that for years. Look how the game industry started. You had geometry just sitting and glued in together. They just used to move like this. So like
guys would come to work, not even shower, you know?
God damn it.
Okay, do you guys like me making jokes like this?
No, it's good. Well, it's so fun. You need to break up the monotony of the boringness with the fun.
I feel like a clown sometimes. I don't want to.
It's feel.
Serious if you guys want. Okay.
I know some people don't. I think it's worse when people don't shower and they go to work out at the gym and they wear the same gym clothes. That's probably.
What the fuck, dude? Who are you hanging with?
No, people at the gym. I'm not meeting with them. You can smell them.
Oh, okay.
You can smell it. Like,
suspiciously long in the bathroom too. Yeah. Okay.
People live their life however they want to live. People just live their life. Just like the person doesn't listen. It's just like that too. You just have to respect people and then not be in their space because you want to work out and be able to breathe. So.
God damn it. That's disgusting.
I've walked next to people and I think I got sunburns, man. Because like, it's like Chernobyl. It's like a fucking singeing your skin because they're so... God, people need a shower, man. Please. If anyone hears this in the public, please fucking shower, dude.
I had that one guy in my high school, and he made me feel like a ninja because I could tell when he was standing behind me.
Oh my god, dude.
Poor guy.
That's too much, man. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's like
Everyone...
a smell that you can't pinpoint. It's like a weird, sweet, sour smell. It's like fucking curry or something. But it's not really, you know?
Look, everyone has their smells. We can't judge people on their smells. So, look, you guys probably all smell too a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah. Got a little bit of a funk to you.
But I shower, so
just if I smelt your like armpits, you would have something. You would have something.
Oh, sorry.
Everyone has a little scent. We all have something. But if you have shower, you shouldn't be able to smell from maybe this distance. Like if I get close here, I'll be able to smell you. But then that's a person who's attracted to you, and they're like, I want to smell you because you smell like a person that I want to be that close to. So, but generally this far away, I think you've got, so. All right.
Yeah, when that happens, I'm happy to disappoint, you know. They come close and they're like, ugh. They don't like it at all.
Let's go on to, who wants to go next with feedback?
I would be down for it.
All right. Who, Marcus?
Isn't Dave later? I
think Dave's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm fine being last.
All right. So
thanks, man.
You've got the. When did you upload the file?
I sent you the WinTransfer. It's like the tactical jumper.
All right, Alex. All right. Should have it here already. Let me just open it up. Hopefully it will just open magically if I open it. No. Let's have a look. Tactical jumper. How's that other one going, by the way? That insane.
The Angel?
Hmm.
Yeah, I keep working on it because right now I think I do feel like the design is advanced enough for me to start cleaning up things and having like good topology to showcase and add details upon it. Um, Short story cut, I built the main armor pieces of the legs, but I need to build like the big muscle I have created, and I need to figure out the pattern and the micro details into it first. So yeah, I'll show progress of this next week, I promise. Like the leg, how it goes, but I do feel it's getting in shape for sure.
Yeah. All right. Oh. I'm just still. It's got about a minute.
Yeah.
Let me see. Has anyone else got some files they want to send me in the meantime? What have you been up to? Let's see. I'm tempted to change your material. I kind of I find it so weird. Don't know why. It just feels like it's lighting it in such a way that it would make me look at it. I want to see it just in this like grey. Oh, where's my grey material? I think it's grey enough. God, everyone has such a different. I don't know. I've always hated the background. Like, I'm always like, I want this kind of like grey-ish background.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I'm like, oh,
it's easier to read the silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been lazy. I did not change that.
Well, change it, because you'll feel better. That's it.
Okay.
You'll feel better. So, I mean, even setting this, like, you're like, it's a little bit too white, and so you want it like a little bit darker. That. All right. You still got the funny feet.
Yet.
What's going on?
Man, I tried hard to fix those.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Did you get real feet in here?
No, I did not.
Oh,
Just
that's
look at the references and ask for advice on the anatomy.
All right. See, I guess, look, you're at a point where you have to move this into a sub-D workflow. Like, you're at that point, right? Let's be honest.
Yes.
You don't want to be doing too much more here because you would want to be like, well, I've got to make it's pretty understood that these belt straps will, be belt straps, and so you have to come in and make the topology. Would you be? I guess, look, that's another thing too. You can actually make this topology in. I know people use ZModeler and stuff like that. How do you guys find ZModeler?
Oh my god, I think it's too gadgety, so I prefer just to model things on a poly modeling software and import it, to be honest. Yeah,
it's a very mixed bag, isn't it? I don't know. I sort of there's no gravitational pull for me to use it either. But it would be great because you're in the one piece of software, so then that you're not breaking the flow of going from in and out. But I would say you could probably refine this a little bit more and problem solve some of the face and stuff. Like even like you could probably bring it up a little bit more where like you're still a little bit like you would not know this here. This is a detail.
Yeah.
Does that really make sense? So you have to then smooth it and you're like, well, I'm just going to terminate that down. Or
it makes sense to have this kind of cut just to open it. Yeah.
Or like that. I mean, you could have that. You would have to have you could do that. But that, as a clothing stitch, then your style for everything will have to be like that. You could do that. And it's not right or wrong. But it feels funny. Like that feels a little bit funny because maybe you could have a little bit more purpose behind it.
Oh yeah, I see.
See what I mean? Like that?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. You could do that elsewhere. I mean, you've got that type of that termination there, like with even here, where it kind of flows like that, and then down. So these are the things that you could solve in sub-D, but this is what I was saying to Andrea. How much do you want to solve here? Like if we look at the hands, like you don't know what to do there for the hands.
Yeah.
Right? So you would have to figure out just some real basic. I can try and insist what you might want to do based on the knuckles. You need to figure out. Has someone sent a message? Alright, let me do this. So you have to solve what you want to do here.
Yeah.
Essentially. So you know what to do. Because you've got this pattern stuff. That's all well and good. But even details like this, like you could even just do further detailing. You could always bring this back into ZBrush, right? Once you've got the clean topology, and add where's all my basic brushes? Like add like little, the clothing, all that clothing stuff.
Right.
That would make sense, and you're doing wrinkles. But first you need clean topology. That's your aim. But first you want to solve things. I would say first you want to solve things, and then you get your clean topology, and then all right. So then you've got this cool design here on the wings. This looks promising, but it looks all a bit. You how come there's no commitment from you to solve this? It looks like a little bit wish-washy.
Yeah.
How come you just haven't gone and gone like this? Okay, I want to commit to that line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Just not doing things halfway, but yeah, just assume things basically in the design.
Well, it's really cool. I mean, I like that. It goes up. And then the thing is you have to figure out where everything needs to be stitched. Ways of terminating certain things, and you would say that one. Maybe go down there. But you want to be corner to corner. But you don't know if that would break the flow of this one material. You just want to get rid of it. Probably should just undo it. But yeah, you can. It's just that, see, this is where you're solving stuff, right? You're like,
Yes.
I'm trying to solve how that would look, because for you to polymodel that, it would take bloody too long to solve that. And this is why concepting and doing that stage here, because you get to just do it real quick. Like you just get to do it, boom, 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 draw a line, done. Right? So.
Gotcha.
And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm trying not to. Just trying to show you what you want to do. You've got the issues of this. Like you don't even know what this is. I'm sure it's maybe like an air exhaust, and so you're trying to put some importance around there. I'm just trying to say, hey, look at the hole in the back. This means something.
Mm.
So, but then you don't want to be too much. Like you don't want to have too much stuff. Someone needs to come back in. So I would say, all right, overall, you need to solve those little details. You need to get the proportions right. Those feet still look funny. So, okay, look, we've got to do something about... Where's your body? Where's the body? You haven't got a body in here, or...
Yeah, No, I wasn't working with skin data. Shame on me. I know.
You need to
Trying to.
you need to punish yourself from that because this is your own fault.
I mean, just got them right, but I really tried hard to just resolve things by eyes, and
Don't do it.
I'm not good enough to allow myself to do that yet.
I don't think anyone's good enough.
So,
Let's be honest. No one's. You're well. Yes. Let's be honest. People are good enough, but they're gonna waste time being good enough. You don't need to waste time being good enough. It's not your job to be good at anatomy for this design.
damn it, that's true.
You're not doing anatomy. You're doing design for clothing. Why bother processing that information? You could be good, but what's the point? You're just trying to be good at everything. You're going to be a master of none. You know, jack of all trades, master of none. Who's going to pay you to be the generalist that you're not? Because you're not selling yourself as a generalist, are you?
No.
There we go.
That's true.
So you're selling yourself as a designer and you want to design stuff. Unless you're a generalist, I can understand it. But you're not a generalist here. So if you get your anatomy, let's say, for example, I'm going to import some anatomy. Alright, let's see if we can find a body. The thing is you need, well, you don't have a female body, do you?
No.
You need to go buy one. 1024 pretty good. Get something that is going to be something that you want to see, right? And then you know, you've got a certain body type that you want to put into this body, the suit, a certain body type, and then you probably want to tweak it a little bit. Let's see if I've got. Alright. Actually, here we go. Arms up. This might match. Let's see. Okay. What the hell is going on there? Alright. It's going to be that issue. I don't know. There we go. I think we're good. I think we'll be able to find it at least. Size up. There we go. Too big. Too big. Right, where are we? Zoom out. Damn it, too big. Alright, come on, where are you? I'll hunt you down. I think I got it. Oh. What's going on? Oh, what happened? I must have deleted it. Oh, that's what I've done wrong. I've imported it. Okay. There it is. Teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. So if I do, I just got to do like this. Oh. Here we go, try again. Oh. Now we do it. No. There we go. Alright. And so as soon as you get that into your scene, your shitty mistakes will come out to you because you can't, you know, like when you compare things to the real deal, you're like, damn, I don't know nothing. Plus everyone's different. Like body types, they're different. See what I mean?
Yes. Oh my god.
Mm.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, look, you have a preference, right?
Yeah.
You'd want to be, that's, you know, you're going to be vain. You're going to put your emotions into the perfect woman. And you're going to be like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, let's be honest. Let's cut to the crap. You're going to be like, bigger bum, you know, so you're going to be like doing that and boom. Like, you're going to do stuff like that, and then you're going to add heroic proportions, making the legs longer.
Yeah.
You're going to do stuff like that. But as soon as you just change, like, things a little bit. I mean, it depends. You might, you know, you're just making it more appealing. Because let's be honest, you want to. It's like getting the sexy car. I mean, the sexy car and the sexy woman.
Exactly.
Right? You want to rob some bonus points. So I mean, so you can see with the feet, you've got that problem, right? They're a little bit too thick, and so you want to build the feet around there. All I would do is start moving stuff in place. Set this to green or red, right? So now we can see all the mistakes. So like that. And there we go. This is your main issue. There's no, because you're, yeah, see what I mean? Like, look at this stuff. But you would want to get this, yeah, I think you're way off proportion wise. Yeah. So you'd want to merge everything, right?
Yeah.
You'd want to, I don't know if this would work. Let me disable this. Oh, you've got a couple of layers in here, don't you? Let's undo this because that just screwed up everything. Alright. Now, merge visible. This is not going to be, oh, I did it. And then we go here. Where are we? Here, everything's merged, right?
That's the previous version.
Oh, wrong one. Oh, everyone keeps sending, you keep sending me everything.
Can you do it with transpose master and not commit to the collapsing in this main scene?
You're working with transpose master only works with mesh that you're not going to change. That's the problem.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the scale's off. This scale, so we would have to experiment with scale. And you're like, well, she's got a big head, right? Does she have a big head? But people have big heads. This is the understanding. Like, we've got big heads as people. Our head is generally bigger than we think it is, but we always make characters with smaller heads. So it depends. It's like, yeah, I mean, it depends. You could make the head a bit smaller, make it more appealing. This is why I came in and I did really bad tweaking. But I would just generally grab the whole head and scale it down, essentially, like that. And it's just like slight, right? And you're building your proportions that you would want to see. And then you adjust it, like so. This is why I always build to an anatomy, because you've got quite a lot of mistakes, but then you've also got the style of the suit underneath. You need to keep that too. So that's generally what you need to do. Design wise, I think it looks fine. I think it looks pretty good. You just need to figure out your certain termination of the lines. You've got a general feel for this. Again, I can't come in here and dictate how you want it to look. I think the design generally overall looks good, minus whatever's happening here. Because I think you've got a good sense of shape language, based on your other one. It's just like maybe there's some sort of maturity factor. You need to mature your shape language in the sense that you've got it, but then there's certain immaturity to the design language that you do have, and I think that will come with time. That you're at that weird point. You've got the good shape language, you've got the determination to do it, because I can't sit here and dictate your design language for those little smaller things. I can tell you how to generally look at the shape and the flow, because I think you've got good shape and flow, but there's a maturity factor to that. you're growing up into your what you want to do. So because you're still, I would say that you're balancing things, not saying that you're not balancing. It's not like you're just putting detail on everything. So you have a sense of design there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. What would I be, as an exercise I can do aside of it to speed up the learning curve? What would you advise me to do to get more maturity faster?
I mean,
honestly, I will tell you, I'm extremely dedicated and whatever it fucking takes to get it. So just tell me and I will do whatever it takes.
I think it's the practice. So you know how you did the face on the other design the other week, and
the angel,
yeah, it was a bit funny. I would say that you have a maturity-ness of that. It's like cartoonish. Maybe that's your mature thing. I think putting a female body in there would mature it to a real proportionate person. Because let's say that you made the foot on scale 2, but then you also have like this. But I can't see. I don't want to like stand on top of the things that you're doing, because you're essentially, you've got a certain expression. It's like telling me how you should grow up. Like I'm like saying you should grow up like this. It's like I can only let you grow in your way, and you have to learn how you want to have like a bolt or like a cut or any type of like detailing. Like you have to figure out what makes you essentially. Because I think you're inspired by the Metal Gear Solid stuff. That's fine. And so you should be taking that and doing your own thing with it, which you are. I guess what you could do is, so you could experiment and say, just take the head, right? And go, I'm going to make this sub D and finish it. I don't know why it's running so slow. Oh, the masking makes it run slow. Actually do the head, get this to a point where you understand how things terminate, what things are detailed. Like, you're pretty close. You could just spend like 30 minutes on this and just figure out some of the stuff, and then move into the sub D rebuild for this, and just mature like the fine. Like the maturity comes from how you finish things, how edges get rounded, how the shape really comes together, and all these things. That's like mature. Like you've got things aren't like this weird funny shape. You've got certain funny shapes, like in the mask for the robot or the angel, she had like some funniness in her face. It feels like you had problems finding something that you liked because maybe you got too attached to things too. But here it's a fresh start too. So what is happening is that you've actually improved on that design because you've worked on it for how many months? 6 months, because you've matured over that time.
Yes, it was really painful, but it teaches a lot. I had to rebuild the model multiple times, and actually I was using the very wrong method, which was to design completely on Maya and not using ZBrush once. So, but it was a good lesson. The more painful, never you forget. So that's
pain will set you free.
Yeah, exactly.
As sucky as that is, it sets you free. Like if you're not feeling a bit of pain and that resistance point, because you're learning, that's where you're learning. And so if you're like a little bit frustrated, you're learning a bit, and you're taking something on because it's challenging. So, and then you can, once you've learned everything, you dive into flow state.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's where you get the enjoyment. And supposedly flow state is better than anything you ever imagined. Like for other stuff, like because you're actually just like switched off. You're flowing. You're getting that little drip feed of reward and flowing like that, and that's where you're leading up to now. and you're essentially getting there. I can see it, and you really want to get there because I mean, if you're dedicated enough to work on something for 6 months, you're probably dedicated enough to do anything.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh my
So-
God, dude, it means a lot to me because I really want that. You know,
Yeah.
the lifestyle you and Vitaly got. You're my fucking idols, man.
Oh.
And I won't be lying to you. I want that.
Yeah.
And I'll do whatever it takes, you know. So
Well-
that's why if you tell me, yo, Alex, your model, you need to do it like 3 times next week, I would do it 3 times. Just tell me what to do to get there faster, and I will do it.
Well, I think you will get there faster because you've got so much passion behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's generally for that angel design. If you look back and go, well, I can do this in 3 months next time. You know, like you essentially know that what you've done wrong.
Yep.
And so this is what you actually are. You're owning up to it. You're going, I did this wrong. I learned from it. It hurt. Just remember it. Don't do the same mistake because we're creatures of habit and we learn patterns really quickly. We like to do the pattern because the pattern is all we know because we're habitually doing the same thing again and again because that's what we're programmed to do. We're programmed to do habits. So every day you wake up, if you don't make your bed out of a habit, you're never going to do it, right? It's like if you don't make your bed, like make your bed, do it every day. It sucks at the start. Like you've got a lot of suckage right now because it's sucking for you. Like you're talking about the pain. And then, yeah, what you see when I do stuff, I'm in a certain flow state when I move into doing it because it's like it's trained. You make it look easy, just like an athlete running or a person playing basketball. They make it look effortless. But to get to that point, they've had to create all these really good habits to get there and really push themselves. So that's all we're doing. We're all trying to out habit the next person, almost like create good habits for ourselves. This is why I said you guys are all athletes. Don't eat crappy food unless you want to feel like crap, unless you want to feel a bit sluggish. You have to absorb it. Like I questioned like when I did the food shop for this week, if I'll get something as bad as it sounds, get something tasty. And I'm like, no, I just don't need it. I can live without it. You can live without it, right? You can. You don't need tasty food. Tasty food's there because someone wants to make some money off your stupid weakness. You don't ever need to go and like eat chocolate or do stuff. You don't. You really don't. You actually don't. You could survive without chocolate. You all could. And if the fact that you ever expose yourself to chocolate, you always want the damn chocolate, right? You do. You could
got a problem.
You
I
could
eat
reward
chocolate every day.
You eat it every day, so you got
Every
too
day.
liberal. You're too okay. Like you're too. So you've then see what happens. You've stopped using it as a reward for actually going. But even then, if you tell yourself this is going to be a reward for doing hard work, you can slip with it. We are all, but you're just like this thing walking around going, I want this. Like you're wanting stuff. So the more you actually go, okay, can I live without it? What would I do without it? So I've mentally gone through it. I'm like, okay, I was trying to justify it and going, well, it's sugar free. But the thing is, there's lots of soy in the sugar free alternative. If I have soy, it will make me lethargic and it will give me diarrhea for the next day. And then it will stop the absorption of proteins. And I've read up on it. I'm like, well, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, I know I want to eat a whole bar of it because it's like sugar free. So I justify it. I'm not going to get fat from it, but I'll get a nice big dump of estrogen. Then on top of it, I'll have to go to the gym and do legs on Sunday because I'd like to do the hardest thing on the most restful day because it challenges my mental state. And then I'm like, oh, well, the next day I have a big dump of estrogen. How the hell am I going to do legs and train really hard? So like, then well, it doesn't line up, and you start to justify. Okay, if you had chocolate every day, you're rewarding yourself every day to do nothing, except eat chocolate. All right?
It's delicious.
There we go. In what context are you eating it? Are you just eating it in the morning? That's even worse. Like I have a mate who has Nutella on his oats. So he's rewarding himself at the very start of the day for nothing, for waking up. And you're telling your monkey brain, I get to get up, right? My motivation to get up is Nutella, like it's chocolate. It's not a good thing. Motivation should come from goals, because goals are sustainable. If you set a goal, right, and you go, I'm going to make an awesome project, I'm going to make a game, that game will be there forever, right? It's not temporary. It's forever for, well, as long as you live and you can see it, right? Chocolate is gone. It's inside of you. And then you need more of it to feed off it. You have to think, like say if one of those posters, did you work on any of those posters in the background?
Yeah, I worked on all 3 movies.
See?
Yeah.
So that props you up. That you look at that, and that is enough to go, that kind of feeds something in you, right? But with the chocolate,
inspiration.
It's inspiration. With the chocolate, it's a never-ending cycle of, right? And the thing is,
I realize I have a problem. I've been cutting down.
Use it as reward. Just go, I'm going to work really hard for 1 week, and I have a whole bloody chocolate. Just do it. Just do it differently, though. But the thing is, you can always go, I can live without it too. So if you can live without things, then you become somewhat like a monk-like state of mind. Because the thing is, even if you have that bar of chocolate, you're going to have to then, you have repercussions from the whole bar of chocolate. Because then the next day you wake up, you're going to want it too. So you have to go through the emotions of then going, stay solid, no more chocolate past this day, and I'm not going to have it every day. And that's where you've gotten up to. So starts with one day.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to take up the whole thing of chocolate.
Look, this is why I say, that will affect you too, eating chocolate every day. Because you know what's going to happen. So they say when you get into a flow state, it rewards you. And so sitting down and focusing on one thing, if you're eating really bad, you have a bad diet, you're always looking for external things to reward you instead of the work rewarding you too, which you can actually get into a pretty bad habit. So then you don't look at work as rewarding because you have an external reward. Chocolate is way more rewarding. So there's a certain scale of what's rewarding in life. And you have certain, caffeine's pretty low level, right? And then you've got caffeine, sex, amphetamines, MDMA, and then cocaine, and then heroin, and then crystal meth in terms of rewarding things and addictiveness. And so you have they spike a certain level of dopamine in your brain and serotonin. And so you got to understand, you're getting low level hits and working hard. It's way down there, working hard, right? So if you have all these, and you've got food at the very start, right? Food before caffeine. And so you got to understand, if you're going towards food as a reward before doing work, you're telling your brain, I can go towards food to get reward. And you have to question those things. You really do. I would say the more focused you can get without rewarding yourself, because you could do both, but then you get really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's fine doing both. You guys can do both, but you got to question yourself all the time, and that's what you're doing, right? And the fact that you said something means hey, what does everyone else think about this? So.
Anyone else eat chocolate?
Yeah,
every day?
I'm in the same boat with you.
Every day?
Almost every day.
Oh, there we go.
I know, I'm terrible. Look, I have a chocolate here.
Oh, your chocolate right there.
Oh, man. I knew it. Someone was hiding there, not saying anything.
Yeah. So, that's what happens. So, you're going towards looking at the chocolate. The thing is, though, you will eat all of it all the goddamn time. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So then, that's why I contemplated it. Will I get it? I put it in the cupboard away from me. But the thing is, I even knew that if I was to sit down and do it, I have a lag time and a recuperation point. And I'm like, do I want to deal with the recuperation from it? I'm like, I'd rather save it for, because I want to go out and do a social thing. If there is like eating and stuff going on there, why the hell would I risk having it home when I go out? Because sometimes you've got social stuff that you have to go out and you eat. And you want to be a normal person, right? But you still have limitations of what you do. But when you start bringing it home, it's like there and you always got it, right? So you go to work and they bloody have birthday cake and you're like, oh, I want some birthday cake at work, right? But the thing is, say if you had cake at home, but you've got cake at home too. Like, do you deserve the cake at work? No, you don't, because you have cake at home. So like, if we have to constantly manage all this stuff, like there is slippage happening everywhere, and everything that you do, you have to pay the price for it. You do. Yeah. There's no free lunch. Your brain has to take it in, get rewarded by it, and then you have to deal with the low feeling. And if you guys want to be really productive with every bit of energy that you've got to accomplish your goals and be focused on your goals, you watch what you eat, right? It's not saying that you don't eat these things, but you will always pay the price. But see, 2 of you guys have slipped and you have it every day. That's slipping, right? We can't sometimes trust ourselves. So I question myself today. I was like, okay, I'm slipping at it, so I will not buy it, and then I'll see how I go without it. If I'm slipping, so just test yourself. Go 1 month without, and then you build resilience. Look at that, yeah.
I could do it. Actually,
you can do it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. We just happened to buy. I don't know if you guys have Costco, but we have the big Costco size.
Oh, jeez, you get spoiled in the US.
It's almost done, so I won't buy another one. Yeah, I'll just.
All right. Yeah, it's almost done.
Might as well get my money's worth.
You know what's real power? What I used to do is, so I used to think, well, if I want all this food, I'll buy it all. I buy everything I ever wanted, and I'll take a nibble and a nibble and a nibble and a nibble, and I'll make myself sick, and I chuck out all the rest of it. Just chuck it out. I did that.
Wow.
Yeah, I did that I think 5 or 6 times, and then I go over it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. They say when people, if they want to get addicted to smoking, just get them smoking a whole full pack, and they never want to smoke again.
Does it actually work?
You try and make yourself sick from the things that give you pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah. You abuse it to the point you're like, hey, let me turn myself off it, because that's the last thing you remember. I don't know if it's a way to do it, but because I remember what it's like to have a lot of chocolate, a lot of Nutella, and then, like, I feel crap after it. I feel like, so because then it's not like a little addiction and then you get up, because every little bit, your serotonin numbs you to the fact that you're actually not feeling good. So you had that bit of chocolate, but you're slightly numb from the pleasure that you get from the food. You're just a little numb. And the thing is, if you had, like, let's say we give you, I don't know, 3 or 4 packets, you're going to feel lethargic. And you're like, oh, why did I do that? But it creeps up on you. You can have more and more because your body becomes desensitized to these things and the feelings that we're doing certain things. That we get used to things really quickly. We have to adapt, right? So that's why, like, people who drink Coke, they have, like, start with one little thing and then they get bigger and bigger. So, I mean, same for caffeine. Like, I'm guilty for caffeine. So that's probably why I'm just having my coffee and that's it. I cut myself off. Because we all have, like, one vice, but we have to understand that we have to be able to go without the vice to teach us what it's like to go without too. So then because it stops being fun after a while. All right, who wants to go next? Who, Dave or Marcos, or that's so.
I think Marcos wants to go last, so it's between me and Dave. Dave, you got somewhere to be, or I can go after you if you're busy.
Why don't you go for it, buddy? I don't have anything to show off really besides what I was working on last week. So.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll show him because I've been working on something different.
So, where have you sent it via something else.
I'm not quite sure how to get to your Dropbox. I have it on my Google Drive, and I have the link to it. I can share that with you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd like to see where the Dropbox is, just so I can use that for next week.
All right. Let me get. So.
It's
Yeah,
because I'm
kinda
worried
make-
about Andrea. Like if she says, well, even with coming,
So-
fucking cool gun, man.
It looks pretty cool, like silhouette, but it's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a mess.
God. I mean, generally, like I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, well. All right. Oh, come on, Shift V. I would almost like scale it for some reason, like that.
So the thinner. Okay.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to hold this. Would your hand be able to hold this? Right? Like, even then. So, stuff like this, I always think, you know, using Mowi or something, but you could design it here. It's no reason not to. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what's the what program should I take it out of from here and like go into more detail, I guess, afterwards.
well, okay, so this type of workflow is best bet done with Mowi, but then you could reference it.
Okay.
Mowi would load really slow. Fusion could load this if you decimate it, but Mowi would run really slow. You might just want to keep it like this or do a little bit more on it. Figure out some of the, I mean, you're a bit wish-washy with all this stuff here. But see, generally working, if I start working with this, I would be doing stuff like this. And I want to bring it down the mesh density. And just start cutting, with the trim thing. Like this, just having a bit of fun with it, right? And doing just, I'm just trying to figure stuff out.
Oh wow, that looks way more.
Yeah, like I need to,
this down.
maybe I want to keep what you just had there, and then I'm doing the trim, that detail, and then I am going in here. I'm just trying to, find things that might catch light. You gotta remember every little flat surface, so that will catch the light, right? I mean, generally when you're coming in and you're adding little fillets like that, or chamfers, you could even do stuff like this. This is probably too much. I'm just trying to give you an example of this would be like more of a CAD thing. You come in there, but it's kind of like it's still affecting the shape.
Yeah.
But generally, like say if we come here, we shift hide, we'll hide everything. We want to make that round instead. Then we get a round detail, break up that shape, Then you're like, well, where's the bullets come out of? Jesus, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Doesn't matter, man. I generally don't give a shit about like the pure logic of making a gun. I'm just
Well,
like,
actually,
cool.
what you did right there would make sense because those little bars that I put like in the that area that you're moving right there, like I was thinking like that, like the energy beams would pass through those.
Yeah.
So you put the whole like literally perfect, like like it would fire out of that top part right there. Yeah.
Yeah. You're making it cool. You're making it like guns. Traditional guns, they're boring, man. We're gonna be doing cool technology with the new guns, and we haven't got there yet. So you want to make futuristic stuff. Everyone's making guns, but no one's making. Like District 9, they had the cool guns.
Yeah. Oh
When's
my
the-
gosh.
when's the last time you
That's
seen
my
that?
favorite movie.
Yeah. When's the last time you seen that? Never, because no one thinks outside. Just like, let's not make guns. Let's make guns like whatever the hell we want to shoot. Like, let's be fun with stuff. So you can see how. I don't know. Let's see. See, I'm just trying to make things cool for these little details.
Yeah. Like that kind of looks like a little scope on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do some landmark stuff. I mean, this is probably a little bit too detailed, but probably not enough topology. God damn it, Shift A. Here we go. Control C. Ugh, my brain's giving up. Here we go. Just rounding that edge off. See what we did?
Oh, snap.
Just rounded it. Because little things count.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, huge difference.
I'm going to fix that. Generally, there's a lot of fixing going on. I think that's probably...
That looks like a, what's the name of that scope? Is it holographic?
Could be.
But it looks like that, yeah. Could
I
be.
mean, you come in here, do an extract. But yeah, it's pretty easy to make guns. I actually don't make a whole lot of guns. It's generally because what I don't... It's boring to me, to be honest. Like, if I like, the only reason why I made cock my gun one because I needed to make the gun. I wouldn't have made it otherwise.
Yeah.
But then on top of it, I needed to practice with Moe, and my Moe skills aren't there. And then I went, okay, let me get my Moe skills up. So I generally have to find a reason to do something. That's what you want to be doing with work. You want to find a reason to do something. You don't want to do it out of like the... Think about it. Like the fact that you're doing this because you like it and you're finding it, like you like the fact that I don't find guns interesting means there's no reason to. I guess what I'm trying to say is like you want to do this gun because A, it's different. It's not a gun. B, it will challenge your skills. You'll learn something. And you're going to get something that you can transfer to somewhere else.
Yeah, because this is like this is probably like the, I don't know, like the only weapon I've made, and kind of like trying to use like solid shapes and not like organic type of modeling. Well,
this is somewhat not organic. I'm trying to make it really rigid all at the same time. You can see that I'm trying to, since I get to work in this organic way, we can...
That looks pretty cool.
We can try and do it, but you don't want to go too far in this workflow because you have to do this in more of a CAD workflow. It's possible. I mean, I did that gun in, where is it? I'll load it quickly.
Do you think it's something that can be done in I just got 3ds Max. I've been kind of learning in that. Do you think I could do that and like remake that in 3ds? Oh shoot!
So I did this.
The rocket launcher you made, yeah.
So that was pretty much the same technique I'm showing you here. That's what I've done. And I had a friend remake this in Fusion. So let me find it. I'll find it and I'll show you. He did a pretty good job. I'm probably going to work with him and do a few things, because if I can like chuck him some of my designs and we can work together, and that'd be great. So where is it? I'm going to get it.
Kind of like build your team like the way, like what you were saying last week.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. Here we go. Here it is. He's got it on YouTube. So, but this is the render, which came out pretty cool. That's Fusion.
Oh snap!
That's cool, right? Oh, too far.
And the glow on you.
There we go. And that's what I kind of wanted from it to be fun. And you did a perfect job. Not serious.
Yeah,
fun. It's meant to be. It goes on top of your shoulder. Like it's silly.
Yeah, like a shoulder cannon.
Silly. Because I don't want to make something serious. I don't want to be bored by it. Like, yeah. So, and there's the workflow for it. There we go.
Fusion, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Fusion 360.
Yeah. So that worked. This wouldn't be so applicable in Moe because it can't load the model. It can't load the geometry. You could reference it, but he did a great job. Yeah, he's someone that I was mentoring and helping out. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's just moved into doing this type of work.
Dang.
So
yeah,
he's getting good.
Oh, that's really cool. Like the little divots inside of it.
Yeah,
that's sick.
But yeah, I definitely have to. I really, after watching this, I want to get some designs and chuck them at him and go, hey, fusion this up for me. So, but yeah, you can do it. It's possible. You'll get a different type of design. You get to plan and try things. So I got to plan and try things in here. You can see it's dirty. There's not much detail. So you can see how much. And then his interpretation was the same. So the thing is, I wanted to do this real quick. I did this in 3 hours, right?
Wow.
So that's not too bad to plan and figure something out in 3 hours and solve some things. And then you get to chuck it to someone else. And that, like, generally that's not a bad pipeline. It's not fantastic, but who cares, man? It's about the end result. Like, really is. If I can chuck things at somebody and then I could try a bunch of things. But the thing is, I've tried, like, I would be like, okay, you could make, look, so for finish, it's actually pretty good. Let's be honest. You could be like, okay, now make that in Fusion. And you could do that too, right? You could block this shape out really quick. You really could. You could block it out really quick. If you did 2D photos, no translation to 3D, then you can't take it into this step. And then you have that 3D translation issue too, which then you have the lag time, you have to figure it out. So everything has its pros and cons, and you're trying to like go, hey, here, like what method do you like, right? We can't be perfect, but we can find the best way to get somewhere where you like it. What do you like? So how do you like to work? How do you like to think? How do you like to express yourself? As long as you're not taking like too long, it's all good. So you have a lot of work to like figure out this stuff. And generally, you wouldn't be able to figure out like your problem solving for stuff. See, I'm just coming in. I'm like trying to. Oh, it's not symmetrical. No, we broke it. Okay, let's work on one side. Like you've approached it all wrong. You should have used a hand in there. See the other scene that I had the hand in the scene when I was working on this. So I go, okay, what are the fingers going to do? Even then, like this impossible, I had like that impossible kind of like grip behind it, right? So it's like, oh man, you have to push that. And you're like, it's just limited. It's what we're saying. This would have to just completely move and flex back. But yeah, like you just need to go through it and figure that out. You've got a lot of work ahead of you. I'm just not going to put that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, you've got a lot of work. If we look at guns too, you need to be looking at gun references. So that's what I did. You could do like futuristic guns.
I used the beam rifle from Halo.
Yeah. So I mean.
Oh, that's cool. That's from Aliens.
This is all like different guns that people have done. Just look at real guns and work your way back. Right, because all this stuff is made in CAD to begin with. But we wanna do fun stuff, so we wanna kind of try and be inventive. This is a pretty cool gun. Like you wanna be inventive with the shapes. Like this is, I don't think that's CAD. I think it's some sub D. So yeah, look at, you're looking at the thickness. Get a hand in the scene. I mean, I think this is sub D.
That's sick.
Problem is, there's no you got to monetize this stuff somehow. That's your problem. Like, everyone's doing guns, right? So you have to figure a way to make some money doing this stuff. Like, this is the problem. How do you monetize it? You don't know until you figure it out. So you don't. That's the problem. You don't know until you sit there and you figure stuff out. I can't tell you how to make money because this is entirely you. So like guns like this might be how you make money from it, because this is like nothing like else before. And that's what I was saying. Like, don't make the normal boring gun, because who's going to come to you?
Yeah, it's not going to stand out.
Not going to stand out. You've got all these guns and they're all pretty cool. Even this is just a kind of it's a gun kind of thing. Like, it's pretty unique, but like if you had this, you're like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
So you might stand out more. But you can still stand out doing other stuff too. People still hire you to do this too. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to stand out, maybe try and, like, even this is generic sci-fi gun, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you want to stand out? Well, how it's like you screaming like, hey, look at me express a different thing. I'm completely unique. This is probably not like totally unique. Everyone's like, it's cool, and then we just pass it off and be like, okay, it's cool.
It's right? Like, okay, like it's nothing crazy.
You want to be a bit crazy. You want to stand out.
Yeah.
You know, like a musician. Why do you think they dress up all crazy? They wear all this stuff. Why do you think?
Is it draw attention?
Draw attention. You need to draw attention. This is how you have to be as an artist. You have to draw attention. You'll just fall into the crowd. How many do you think there's so many good singers out there that will probably outdo Lady Gaga and all that crap. You know that, right? She's not that good. Not as good as someone else who's like could be just that, like, way better. Let's be honest. She's good, but let's be honest, like, if she didn't do all this outlandish stuff, she wouldn't have gotten the attention that she is. What about Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson is good, but you can guarantee someone can sing like Michael Jackson if they like put enough work and really be out there. Maybe okay, Michael Jackson's not. No, I regret the Michael Jackson one. Michael Jackson's on top. All right, but let's say
I agree, but you make a valid point.
I'm just trying to make a point. Don't worry about the Michael Jackson analogy. I just come to think of it, he's pretty fucking good, right? He's like, he was on top. But you have to really stand out. Like, even if we look at like that baby picture, it's really good, but maybe like, how would you make something like that stand out? Like that stands out more because it's the elaborateness. Like, when we come to question things, how the hell do we stand out? And that's the hardest thing to do as an artist. It's really difficult, and we tax ourselves trying to do it. And sometimes when you overthink the thing that you're trying to do, and instead of just expressing the thing that you're trying to do, because the expression of who you are to stand out, like, see, that's really porny, right? So it'll make money off being porny. Somehow make money. Who knows? I don't know, along the line, someone go, hey, do this for me. Make me that, but have a vagina showing. Someone paid him $1,000 to have a vagina showing. I don't know. Like, the thing is, how do we monetize stuff, right? So say with that piece of artwork, they'll probably get offers. Can you do me as a portrait like that too? So we have, because it's so unique. So if you did this gun and then you went on top of it, I'm going to 3D print this and people can buy it, but you're doing something that's totally different, then you can you can still generate money from being the same and doing the same as everyone else. But at the end of the day, you got to question, how do you generate money from your work? That's the ultimate thing. It's difficult, right? So then you go, okay, I'm going to stand out. I'm going to have some sort of maybe niche thing that people will come to me. So, and you could even you do something crazy, like you could even just sell it once a year for a crazy amount of money? You don't know. Or sell a lot of it. You could do the opposite. So, I don't know. Do you just want a job somewhere? Is that... Because I think you said you didn't just want a job somewhere.
Yeah, like, because I'm going to school for film right now because I really want to like make my own like short films and eventually like make, you know, bigger budget films. So like I kind of want to be able to do some of my own stuff like on my own, like make my own characters and like motion capture them and throw them into stuff and kind of just do that on my own rather than kind of relying on other people to, you know, having to wait for them to like make things, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of be like a one-man army type scenario.
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like I need to have my hands in this because this is kind of where a lot of those things are even made in.
Well, dude, a lot of work. I had a chat with someone about game development. He's like, well, do your strong thing. So you have to do what you're naturally strong at, and then work within a limitation that you're stuck with working, but use it as a certain exploitation. Okay. So if you're limited to, let's say you're limited to doing characters, all right, you're really good at doing characters in a game, right? So you can make a really good character-driven game. So where it focuses around the characters and then the programming and things like that. Since you're not going to be strong at programming, you make something that's driven towards characters. Let's say if you were to be a one-man army, you have to figure out how to make the characters be a game. As weird as that sounds, because you can make them, oh, that looks good, but then you need your little thing to catch people. Yeah. So that's like you know, like what I was talking about, you to find your niche. That's still, you could sit there and you could talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. Nothing will ever happen, right?
Yeah, nothing will ever happen. Yeah.
You have
I kind of got tired of doing that. Like I was like, I have a lot of ideas.